pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This is the part of the meeting that it's open to the public to be able to ask anything or have any questions or want to comment about something, but we will not be acting on it. We'll take it under advisement and do that on the next meeting or whatever. So, anybody got anything?
No.
Phil Stuckey.
Hey, good evening, everybody. I just will do one thing first. I told y'all I'd bring you all shirts.
Did you lose your razor?
So I did. I do I?
Did you lose your razor?
No, this is the more distinguished gentleman look, Mike. So I got you all some shirts that we got made, some swag stuff, and I wanted to.
Would you give me a medium?
I got you a schmedium. That's what Mike told me to get you. But I did want to. I think I sent you all emails as well. But I did want to formally invite you all to our open house on Friday. It's between 11 and 3. Our therapist, our LCSW, will be down there as well. So hopefully you can meet the entire crew that we've got down there now. So just want to invite y'all out to that.
So how's it going up there?
It's going good. We started having a few clients come out so far. We really haven't done the big, opening. We're going to start that in January, of course. Just making sure, putting furniture together is taking a lot of time. So just getting everything together and buttoned up. So I'll bring you a shirt, I promise.
Get me an extra large.
I got you. But I just want to come out and invite you all on Friday.
Sounds good.
However we can do that to make sure you all see the offices. So, all right.
All right.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, well, nobody else got anything. We'll move on into the public hearing of COVID-19 Phase 3 grant, River Hills.
Okay. Hi everyone, I'm Melissa Woods with River Hills Economic Development District, and as part of a grant agreement that the county commissioners entered into by receiving a $250,000 community development block grant through the Indiana Office of Community and Rural Affairs, we have to have another public hearing following their distribution of those grant funds. So the county received $250,000 to assist small businesses throughout the county. I cannot remember the number of applications we actually received. It was 40 something. They ended up awarding 39 grants to small businesses, and all of those were in the amount of $7,122.51. Really good for our county, and hopefully will help those businesses recover from all of the impact that COVID has had on us and continues to have on us. So we will be closing that grant out soon. We do have a list of grant recipients. If anyone is interested in seeing who received those funds, Tammy's office, well actually there's lists right there that you can see. The only ones who did not receive the grant funds were businesses who had applied also to the city of Scottsburg. Businesses could not double dip into the city and county funds, so that was not at all their fault. They were all going on at the same time, so some applied to both. Those who received from the city were not able to receive from the county. There was a scoring process, but basically the redevelopment board decided that everyone deserved their fair share. So that's why grant funds were distributed evenly among those who were eligible. There was a local match amount in the amount of $27,778 as well that went into that. And that went directly to those businesses as well. So, does anybody have any questions? There is a sign-in sheet. It's a very generic sign-in sheet that's going around. But other than that, are there any questions?
I have a comment.
Okay.
Just to tell you how hard you worked on it, there was a couple of businesses that literally didn't understand the process, and we actually called them that day and got them on board because they just didn't understand it. So you worked extra hard to get all that done.
Well, also the match came from the regional development, did it not, to the TIP money?
The TIP redevelopment.
Yeah, well,
The match.
our match did, yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
27,000
$27,778.
from the county, yeah.
So I just wanted people to know
You're right.
that didn't come out of public funds, it came out of the TIF.
And I need to make everyone aware too, the portfolio of businesses who received those funds had to be at least 51% low to moderate income. So not all of the businesses were low to moderate income, but many of them were. So, any questions?
Wow.
I do have something else after you officially close the public hearing, if you don't mind.
Okay.
It's just an informational.
Well, I guess I'll close the portion of your COVID phase 2 part. You got something else?
Yes, please. And if, is that sign sheet yet? It's circulating around, and I'll have you all sign it before I leave. I just wanted to let you all know that we have been working closely with Everett Hunley on the next layer grant application, that logjam removal application, and working closely with Tammy to try to get some of those funds up to the, or an invoice up to the state for the work that's occurred this year. We've also been in close contact with Doug Nussbaum with DNR. He knows there's another application coming in. We will be officially asking you all in the council for authorization to submit that application. Right now, we're looking at including 7 log jams, 5 of those on the Scott County side, 2 on the Jackson County side. The 5 on the Scott were the same ones we included in last year's application, and DNR is aware that that's an ongoing effort to try to get those gone. Jackson County, we have a call with their Soil and Water Conservation District on Friday. Everett has spoken with them. They are willing to commit half of the match that's going to be necessary for this next grant application. So the grant application in total, it's going to be $20,000 per logjam, so $140,000 total project cost. It's an 80-20 match, so it's going to be $28,000 in local funds that need to be committed, and then you see my math. 100. I had that all written down. Let's see. I don't have that written down. 100, I guess 120, 112, about 112, yeah. Sorry, 1,000 in the grant request. It's 80-20, so it's 80% grant, 20% match. So what we're asking Jackson County to do, and what Doug with DNR has said, just a letter from them saying they support the project, and also including their commitment of half of that $28,000, which will be $14,000.
That comes from the DNR?
No, that'll come from Jackson County.
Oh, Jackson County,
Yeah.
okay. So Jackson County's going,
They have
the 28,000 is a total.
28,000 is the total local match for the grant part. Our contract will be $1,500 to prepare the application. We are also asking Jackson County to commit to half of that, so $750 on their side and $750 on yours.
Okay.
I will officially be coming, like I said, to the council and you all in future meetings. That application is due January 15th. I just kind of wanted to bring you up to speed on it. Apoorva Wright with our office is actually going to take the lead on that application. She's a new grant writer in our office. She's very good, and I'm overseeing that effort with her. So you will see her at the future meetings with me. I'll be doing most of the talking just because she's learning. But
What's her
anyway,
name
just to
again?
give you a heads up.
What's her name?
Apoorva Wright.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Apoorva. Do you all have any questions about that? Okay. I'm assuming the money will come from wherever it was committed last year.
Depending on the fund balance.
Okay.
And then what we have to look at. I know that we might, till I can
We
review
can
the
talk
actual
about it.
funds.
Yeah.
Where the entire source may come from, but a whole or in part will probably be from at least that one source.
DNR is not as stringent on, I don't think,
Source.
identifying where it's coming from. We just need to commit to it on our side before the application goes in, so.
This is, to clarify, this is the drainage board that's applying for this, but it's through the county.
It's through the county, and actually, with what happened with last year's application, Everett cannot sign off. You, as president of the commission, has to sign off on it, even though it's a drainage board
Okay.
project, so.
All right.
I'll
Thank
be
you.
seeing you soon.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, yeah.
All right. Health department. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Great.
Good. I have a couple updates and then probably one action item. First and foremost, the council did approve yesterday to give me a line item in my 1159 budget for Tim to get a cell phone. So we will be working on that. I had a Zoom call today with the State Department of Health, and we talked about this grant last time, my HIV prevention grant. I'm not getting that next year.
So the HIV grant,
Yes,
you're not getting,
I'm not getting.
and that's technically a person that does what?
There was 2 positions. One is an HIV tester. One is was an HIV outreach coordinator. Both of those positions are vacant right now.
So you don't have anybody in those positions now.
Right. It also paid for like these medical waste for all the syringe service programs. So
How much money are we talking?
it was about 105,000.
Did they give you a reason why?
Basically, they are putting that funding. They will probably put that funding towards the syringe service program that'll happen at Austin.
Okay.
So since we
I
don't
just
have
wanted to
ours-
understand, yeah.
Yeah.
I got a question about some of the, I guess, I won't say media, but I'm gonna say media. Some people that are saying that, that the needles are gonna be left on the road, and, I mean, are those 4 containers that we have, I mean, nobody's picking them up and hauling them off someplace, are they?
So we do that now.
I know that, but I mean, those containers are still
Will
gonna be
they
in the same.
still be there?
They're still gonna be in the same place they
So
are
I was
now.
going to, my plan was to lock them because I don't have any, 1, I don't have staff to go out and do it, and then 2, I wouldn't have any money to dispose of that unless it came from my 1159 budget. And then the issue that I kind of thought would be an issue, and I talked to the prosecutor about this a few months ago, is that if we are physically going out and getting syringes, used syringes, that could put liability on our staff since we don't have a syringe service program of like, we are in possession of a used syringe. But if people bring it into us, we will dispose of it. I don't know, I mean,
So you're
that's,
saying that when I pick one pick up on the street,
you're a first
the
responder,
sheriff's gonna
though.
arrest me going to drop it in the container, huh?
Well, I mean, I don't think so, but
It's a
at the
lot.
end of the day, I do have, not to say this in a negative way, but at the end of the day, I do have staff that are in recovery. And so that point was also brought up whenever there were talks about it. But if somebody brings them into our office, we're gonna accept them, and dispose of them, but.
So I guess my question again is going to be that, the 4 containers that we bought and that are sitting around in different areas, they're still gonna be there?
They will be there, like I said, my plan was to lock them.
Lock
because
them so somebody can't drop a needle in them?
right, I mean, what do you wanna do when they get full?
I guess I'll go into them,
Okay,
and
I mean-
I'll take care of it, so. But the point of it is I mean, you know, as a health department or as a county health, I mean, we just gonna close our eyes, I mean, because, as diabetics and myself I drop needles in there for myself,
Yeah.
personal use.
Yeah, people bring them to us all the time for
So,
non.
so I guess as a community service, we're just gonna block it and say, you know, throw them on the ground, so that tends
Well, I
to
don't
make
think I would
it.
ever tell anybody to throw them on the ground.
Is there a possibility of you end up picking them up somehow or other, just looking at it? Is there,
I mean, you guys
Just look
technically
at-
own those boxes, right? They're equipment that's health department, and
Yeah.
you guys technically own those
I'll
boxes.
look into how we
well,
can.
I know, I think
And-
what I'm asking is if you'll explore options to possibly be able to dispose of these somehow or other.
Like I said, if somebody brings them to us, we will accept them. If somebody
I-
comes to us and
I know,
asks us
Michelle.
for a
I know.
medical, like just a sharps container, we will give them what we have. It's just this funding, this funding was designated to pay for those, that agreement of medical waste and to buy syringes and or to buy, sharps containers and things like that. So, maybe that's a question for Zach, like, should I still allow my employees to go out and pick up syringes if we get a call?
Well,
Or
no.
is that gonna put us at risk for
And-
unlawful
And
possession of a
and I'm
syringe?
trying to be specific, I think we're just talking about the boxes.
I'm talking
If we
just
can
about
pick
the
the
box.
Well, we still get we also get 911 calls, and I was going to say, like, I'm not gonna have any positions to do that either.
But I'm hoping that just the boxes, if they get filled up, we can dispose of those, just the boxes. I understand you can't do everything on the street, and it is maybe a question I'm hoping you can look at, or whatever.
I mean, or whose decision is that?
Whose decision is?
Is to what to do with the boxes and what my staff should do with syringe pickup calls after
like you-
January 1.
Sounds like you two need to sit down and talk.
Well, I'm not asking you, if somebody calls 911 and says, hey, there's a needle over here, I think at that time, I guess.
Because right now we get a text message from Jeff's office
Yeah,
if
you
it's
don't
during
have a-
business hours.
If you don't have a funding, then,
I think that there's a couple questions as to like the logistics of how you would retrieve the box, like who's gonna do it?
Mhm.
How do they get paid?
Right.
Whose time are they on?
Exactly.
Are the boxes locked?
Right.
And you can only put things in and not take things out?
Right, yes.
I
Mhm.
would assume that's how it is.
Yep.
Um,
They're just like the ones that Clark has.
So who has access to the lock?
Yeah.
Um,
Right now it's just, I mean, the people,
And I think the person transporting them, would not be able to have access to that, I guess, but I think that we would need to, I'm not the only person that would need to be involved in this discussion, it would have to be, I think, the sheriff
okay,
and the prosecutor, but I'd
Okay.
be happy to sit down.
okay. I mean, like I said, you guys own those boxes, they're county property, so if we wanna lease them out to other organizations that wanna pay for that service, like, that's an idea. I know,
Yeah.
that's been asked, but,
I'm not sure what we ought to do. I'm just like, I kind of agree though, if we're gonna have them out there, no matter who owns them, when they fill up, we need to dispose of them somehow or other. I don't know the process, but that's why you're talking.
I think what I would say is that the risk that you're talking about for your employees is not unfounded, I
mhm,
think that there's
okay,
something to talk about.
yeah.
all right.
You can
Leave the,
talk.
I mean, as of right now.
So just talk with
leave
Zach.
Leave them exactly where they're at, and,
Okay,
we'll deal with it,
okay,
figure out what the legal ramifications are, but I'm sure we can dispose of the needles.
Somehow,
I mean, I'll go pick them up,
yeah.
I'll take them to the hospital and see the hospital gets rid of them or something.
yeah. Okay, we'll just leave it as
You
is
got a
then.
question on it?
What? Go ahead,
How big are the boxes and how?
they're like a mailbox,
Yeah.
Like humongous?
they're like a mailbox.
Mm-hmm.
Do we still have mailboxes? That's okay.
You know, the ones at the post office that you
Uh-huh.
drive by, but they're that big.
And there's how many of them?
There's 4.
And how often do they have to be emptied?
We try to do it at least once a week, but you can
But they're
get
not
by
full.
with, yeah, yeah,
I mean, I've thrown needles in there and hear it hit the bottom, so.
yep.
But they do collect them. I mean, there are needles in those boxes, but I mean, I've never seen one that you couldn't
Right.
throw another needle in it.
Right, yeah.
But I do know that a lot of people throw their sharps.
I
in
wouldn't
from-
go more than once a month. I feel
Okay.
like, it's probably.
But they're secured where public can't get in them.
Right, yeah,
Oh, you
they're
can't
locked
open them. Yeah.
and they weigh what, 200, 250 pounds? You
Yeah.
won't
That's what
lift
I'm
them,
trying, they're
so-
not a public hazard,
No.
but we would be, if they get full, people are not going to put them in there and
No, I would
they
assume
could end up on the streets.
the
I don't
doors
see
would
how you could
open
even, I
at
mean,
that point. if it was
you'd have to
that
have-
full.
Well, if they fill up though, they're not gonna
yeah,
put them in
you'd have to have
there.
thousands in there before they're full,
Yeah,
but anyway.
Okay, we'll just leave it as is then.
you two can look at that.
And then, so Tim and I went out to the new Frankfurt property. We did not see any evidence of waste on the ground, of, like bodily waste on the ground. Then we contacted the porta pot service. They do have a weekly contract for them to come empty it once a week. They were just out there yesterday, actually. They come every Tuesday. So, that checks out. Now, as far as like the trash and things, we met with the individual out there and she said she feels like she could have everything cleaned up by January 15th. The only thing left of the unsafe building is just the brick, like, foundation. So, again, I think we're kind of talking about really 3 separate issues. You have the unsafe building, and then the trash, and then as far as like people living in that shed, she said no one lives there like on a regular basis, but that's just what she told us. But they do have their porta potty emptied weekly, and we did get confirmation from that service.
Okay.
So I don't know if you want to as far as the unsafe dwelling, like that's kind of the issue on the table that we've been discussing. If you guys wanna say that's fine and then just wait for her to see what it looks like on January 15th, or if you wanna have another public hearing about the trash issue.
So you're saying she's telling you by January the 15th, she'll have the trash picked
Yes,
up?
that's what she told me. I said, because I went out there on Monday and I said, I'm gonna have to tell them a date. Like, they're gonna wanna know what your deadline is, because, you know, of course, life happens and things and, you know. And so she gave me the date of January 15th.
At this point, I would say we wait till after January the 15th, we give her a deadline, so. But as far as the living, you're saying right now, no one is there.
She said no one consistently stays there.
I breathe every once in a while, but, you know.
I don't care one way or the other what we do.
Well, I think that's, and I don't mean like pass the buck smarty, but like,
Yeah.
as far as like waste being on the ground, like it being a public health like issue, like they're not illegally dumping it. We have proof that they get it taken care of on a weekly basis. Now, as far as someone living in a tiny home, I think that's you. Trash is definitely an issue, and we, you know, definitely went through that with her and what definitely needs to be removed. And but ideally, like long-term plan, she said that she wants to put a mobile home out there, so she wants to kind of clear it out and then put a mobile home out there.
So is this the lady we spoke to on the phone?
No, this is the aunt.
So I guess my question is she the property owner?
No.
I know.
Hollifield is the owner, right? Or
Hollifield is the
deed.
owner.
Yeah.
So,
But
I guess here's my thought is that we wait till the January 15th deadline that we gave her.
Okay.
And if the trash isn't gone, then, I guess we send her a letter that we're gonna send somebody out there to pick the trash up and charge her.
Yeah.
But, as far as the shed, I know me being on the, area plan, we are discussing those small homes and everything else in our meetings and trying to come to some sort of conclusion after the first of the year that, right now, those are technically illegal to live in.
Okay.
So, even though, you know, do you sleep on the ground or you sleep in a shed? I mean, I guess is the problem, but I still think as an area plan and our rules and regulations are that you don't. So, so until that either gets, somebody comes and says, I want to have a tiny home community and they're going to be sheds with no running water, no electricity, and you know, then but right now we don't have that, so technically those are not allowed. So,
and I think we got you a new phone number for the property owner while we were out there.
And I do have a phone number for her that I can contact her supposedly with, although I've been told that she won't answer the phone. I'll leave a message.
so you're talking about the property owner, not the
property
aunt,
owner,
not the aunt.
so that I can obtain an address to send a letter.
Okay.
Martell.
Okay, to me, whether they're living out there temporary or not, they're still living there. So, and the conditions, no water, electric, sewer, other than that porta potty they've got. And they didn't even get a permit to move the shed out there, period. So, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff to me that you guys are be able to take action on. For them living there. It's unsafe, that wood stove in there, I mean, it must well get burned up probably. But
Well,
it's been going on for over 6 years, and that other property on Lover's Lane or whatever, they got cleaned up, it looks really nice, you know?
yep, sure
You guys
does.
was behind it, they did their part, let's wait till January, let's wait till February, let's wait 2022.
Well, the reason I say January, and I'm not being
Right.
ill here, but the reason I'm saying January the 15th is because that's the deadline that she asked them. So I'm not being ill with you saying there's a deadline of the 15th. I'm saying that's what the health department told them to have it cleaned up by the 15th. So as it's easy to go out there and go, well, let's go out tonight and run them out. I mean, but there's a legal part of this as well. And yes, I just said it, there's an ordinance against living in sheds. The area plan's gonna have to take action on this. It's not the health department, it is the area plan. The area planner will have to pass something or write a letter, write a documentation, send it to the Board of Commissioners, and the Board of Commissioners are gonna have to say, here's what you're doing or not. And whether it's cease and desist or whatever our attorney tells us we legally can do. But as far as running out there, and running them off with a shotgun, that's not gonna
I
happen.
understand you gotta do the legal part of it.
Well, with
It's
it,
just, you guys had her an agreement to let you all clean it up. And then she did just a little bit, and they said, okay, we'll let you finish cleaning it up. She
Well-
agreed to you guys clean it up for her.
Again, the building's gone.
Yeah,
So
it's-
that public hearing was about the unsafe dwelling. That building is gone. So that's, like I said, there's 3 issues here. That's issue number 1. And again, that's probably, you haven't really talked about that, but, the building's gone. So as far as the unsafe dwelling, it's done. No one can live in that building because it's been burned down. The trash situation, that, we've taken action on that. We have a deadline now of January.
so it's not the rubble from the building, this is
This is additional
just trash from,
Yeah, you can kind of see it in that picture there.
You guys are taking time to do a drive-by.
I've been there.
I was
been
literally
there.
there 48 hours ago.
I've been there, I know exactly what we're talking about. I mean, it's not like I haven't been out there.
And then, like I said, I think the last statement that you made at the public meeting was that there was illegal dumping of her waste, and there's not. They have proof that the company comes and empties the porta potty. And again, do most people live with electricity? Yes. But do you have to? No.
If there's nobody living there, they don't have to dump it weekly either, so there you go.
How much land is on this lot, do you know, anybody?
I do not have that.
It's a little over an acre.
They're allowed to put
It sounded like we're gonna get it done, it's just a little
Actually,
slower than some people
They'd
want.
have to get a variance if they're gonna put.
I mean, if
any
you guys
kind
want
of
to schedule a
thing
public
on it,
hearing, then
'cause it's
we'll move forward with
less
that.
than 2 acres.
Hang on, public hearing regarding what?
The trash, I guess.
Yeah, but those are filed as an ordinance violation at the county clerk's office, and you go to court.
Okay. I mean, I guess they
That's
could
a
do that.
civil-
Yeah, that's a civil issue, it has to do with paying a fine.
Okay.
So
I guess you guys could do that if you wanted to.
we can do that, but that I would need, they have to have an opportunity for notice of violation. You gotta draft up an ordinance ticket,
Okay.
hand it to them, I gotta file it, get them a
Is that
date
in
for
your
a hearing.
district?
Date for the hearing will probably get set out another 30 days. We gotta go to the hearing, if they clean it up before then,
Yeah.
usually then there's a resolution, but, that's kind of a
When
separate
is-
issue.
When is our next area plan meeting?
January the 12th.
Uh, Can, we'll have to do a sidebar on that, as far as if we could have them have the homeowner come in front of us, I guess, at the area plan and say, you can't do this. Like, even though we told her on the phone that day, they couldn't live in it.
I believe planning and zoning could have a hearing on this.
Well, what I'm talking about is we're gonna have our meeting January the 12th. We could ask her to be there at that meeting, the homeowner, and say, you can't do this. And then at that point,
To make it authoritative, I would just make sure that, that notices and everything go out properly and that it's a true, formal hearing where you can, take on essentially an administrative hearing where both sides get to present facts and contest evidence via live testimony under oath or whatever. But and then you make findings after that.
Yes. Yes, and that's what we told them.
well,
That
we'd
could
have
be
to get
appealed,
with, we'd have to get
that's
with our
not-
president and see if, how he wants to handle that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's.
And we may have a problem presenting legal notice because the Cartersville Times that publishes our legal notices will close down for weeks. Yeah.
All right. Go ahead.
Well, I kind of would like to put one issue to rest about the unsafe dwelling, if you feel like it's sufficient enough to be done, or if you want
I mean,
them to clean up the.
If your statement is that the solid waste, which would be the trash that is there, is not the result of the demolition of the building, then the reason that the unsafe building action was brought has been dealt with, right? I mean,
Right.
but
I mean, the
there
only
are-
thing remaining is the bricks, and bricks are not considered.
So I would say the safest thing to do would be to, in that situation, you know, oh, you saying the bricks are still there?
Yeah, the foundation.
Foundation.
Mhm.
Okay.
So I guess it's not completely, but you can't inhabit that, because it's not, the only thing
Is
there's
it-
like
yeah,
2
I don't
rows
know
of
that
bricks.
That's a building by itself. I think that it would be permissible for the commissioners to make a finding that it's been cleaned up.
Mhm.
And I would provide the property owners notice immediately that they're in violation of a separate ordinance that has to do with solid waste. And that we're gonna give them till January 15th before we proceed with potentially a separate legal action.
Marty, since you're on the area plan, or in that office, can we send her a notice of something in our showing our ordinance for, I guess, living in a house that's less than 900 square foot or 950? So that she is given notice that, I mean, I know we talked to the homeowner that night on the phone and she was aware of it, but, you know, if she's got an aunt that thinks she can go out there and live.
And I keep getting conflicting statements that they're telling everybody that the health department told them that they can live there,
Yeah.
you know.
Anyway, if we can send her a notice and show her the ordinance that shows that, you know, Scott County, you know, the smallest house you can live in is 950, I think 950, isn't it?
950.
950 square foot. So that she's on notice again, just saying that, you've been made aware of this, so I guess the next thing is we could file something saying you're, you know, you're not abiding by, you know, whatever that ordinance number is. So what else you got?
That's it.
So we're in red,
Yes.
so the numbers this week,
Slightly better, like less cases, but still quite a few.
so I do know, because I know some people that are this way, but, people that have had both shots and the booster
Mhm.
and got COVID,
Yes.
so.
Unfortunately, that does happen. Yeah. It'll just be interesting to see, like, with the variant, if that's something that will come out.
And you're saying the variant's not in Indiana?
There have not been any reported cases yet. So I think part of that, this is just my theory, is that a lot of people get the rapid tests, and so those tests don't go to the lab. And so of the tests that go to the lab, they select a small sample to randomly test for variants. So you kind of just have to have, you know, have to get tested, has to go to the lab, and has to be selected, and you have to have the variant.
So it's,
So,
But it's always been a known fact that you can get the shots and still get the COVID.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think they've ever been said to be 100%.
I mean, that's never been a secret.
So, yeah. But I mean, you can also have both shots in the booster and be exposed in your office and be totally fine.
I get
You're
that.
back where you can-
And have a
I
compromise.
just want to say, I think the goal of the shots is not necessarily to prevent COVID, but prevent illness that requires hospitalization.
Yes.
I think that's correct.
Data.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
And I think it
people may
works.
still get it,
Mhm.
but people that we're seeing that are very, very, very sick have not been vaccinated.
I think you're exactly
I
right.
think the state, or in our state call on Tuesday, they said 94% of people who are in the hospital right now are not vaccinated still. So,
All right,
I'm sorry, I'm still confused on the unsafe dwelling.
you're good.
It's fine, so
I
send them a
think-
notification.
I don't think you've taken any action
Okay.
yet, so it's still sitting there. I'm just saying that
Okay.
if.
There needs to be a
if the
motion.
commissioners wanted to make a motion to,
So you're talking about,
withdraw the,
The unsafe
It's a-
dwelling
it's a
that
pending-
got burned down.
it's a current order that's in effect to clean the property. And by clean the property, I mean the building.
The building,
Yeah.
yes, the unsafe.
but you're
building.
saying, well, this stuff here in the pictures is not any building material.
Right, the
not-
only thing that's left is that
that's
top right-hand corner. If you wanna look at that again. So 2 rows of bricks.
So
Yeah.
the commissioners could motion to say that they have
It's the foundation.
satisfactorily,
So
they have
And then we
satisfied
would notify the property owner.
the
that's
citation in
y'all's
the
decision
public
at this
hearing,
point.
right?
I mean, it's not a
And then
building.
they're gonna withdraw
but I'm
any
not-
further action.
I don't have
Let's,
the ability to say it is.
Let's just do this, we're waiting for January the 15th.
Okay,
Let's just wait for January the 15th.
okay.
And I don't have a problem one way or the other, because I think that's, I mean, it's part of the building, but you can't seek shelter there, so. She's talking about the
So-
top left
I would
hand.
let them know though that the thing that's holding it up
That's
is
holding
cleaning
up as
up
the
the
bricks,
foundation.
okay, yep.
You know, and I'm just seeing all this, and these people still have the liability if somebody gets on their property and gets hurt. It's their fault, and it's not us gonna get. I mean, we've
I
told
wouldn't
them what to
think
do.
so.
No, I'm just, in case
Private
somebody thinks
property.
if somebody gets hurt, that we've done something wrong. I don't
Well, there's
think that.
not,
We're taking
and that's
all
what
the
Zach's
steps.
saying, is there's no dwelling there.
Yeah.
I think that the health department is following
The
the
protocol.
exact rules that are established to deal with a situation like this. They did it, there was a finding, there was a hearing, and we're just working through getting it cleaned up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks
Patty.
a bunch.
Kevin, if you hadn't talked so long, you'd been gone.
Thank you, Phil.
How you been?
Pretty good. Staying busy.
You gotta slow down just a hair.
All right. First thing I got is our contract had come up with Centos for our uniforms. We was gonna go with a different company, a little better prices, just a lot of different options for the crews. They pretty much it's the same deal. It's a 3-year contract, just like we had signed the first time with Centos. So we kind of negotiated that around. They changed it from 5 years to 3 years so it would match. I guess Mike needs to sign this. Would that be correct? Since we're,
If they approve that,
if you
right?
approve it.
So it's roughly the same, just,
Yeah, it actually comes in at better prices and more choices. As far as the time, they changed it so they would kind of match what we had before.
you know, see that?
Need a motion?
And who's the vendor,
Whenever you're
Kevin?
ready.
UniFirst. Or is it UniFirst or Uniform?
Universe.
That's different on it.
I'll make the motion.
Oh, yeah, gotta have the attorney look at it.
Oh, Lord, let me take my motion back.
While we're waiting,
Yes.
the Brian all set up? or-
Yes,
Or am I
I-
getting ahead of you here?
Yeah, you're fine. We'll jump to that one. I got you all a printout and it tells you what routes that we plan on doing. But yeah, the truck's set up and the brine maker's set up and we're ready to go whenever the weather turns bad.
And for the public, this is something we've never done, but Kevin has found a brine machine, and if anybody's familiar with what State Highway does, about pre-treating some roads. Kevin found us a good deal on a new system, and we're gonna try it, and we're going to try to brine some bad areas, high traffic areas, and areas that seems to always want to freeze over and shaded. Some of those areas are shaded. And
We kind of try to join major highways with our routes too, so,
And
you
we're
know, like
talking-
slab connecting major highways.
We're talking, am I getting, make sure I'm right here. First thing we'll do is probably do the intersection. Is that correct, or you plan on doing the whole road?
Well, right now, what I have drawn out there is 50 miles, which
Yeah.
would be pretty much a 100-lane mile. And you can see on that map, those are the roads we plan on doing. Those are the pre-treat roads. So we're not gonna go through and try to pre-treat every intersection.
Oh,
Yeah.
But, you know, if it's one of those where the ice is stuck for days, we can go back out, treat on top of the actual ice, weather's gotta be right, but I'm experienced with all that. And, you know, there's some different techniques we're gonna try. See what works on the county level,
I
you know,
think it's
and the
fantastic
budget
what they're
level.
doing. Yeah, I mean, that's great, we've never had that. That's-
It'll be I wouldn't say a trial and error, but we'll just have to see what works on the budget level, because it's,
Well, there won't be nobody
you
complaining.
know, no.
Well, my road didn't get, or somebody else's road didn't get, or whatever.
That's good.
But for sure, the shady areas,
Yeah.
it's
Well, actually, I was,
it'll be good.
a day or two after that last little snow we had, I went on the backside of Watcher Road, and there was a shaded area down through there that I was like, it's still slick.
Yeah, it's gonna help,
You want to see
situation.
that?
Yeah, I made the motion, by the way.
John made a motion. Are you good with that?
There's some strange language about liquidated damages,
Okay,
but it has to do with penalty provisions, not penalties, but payments if you cancel the contract prior to 36 months.
So do we need to do something different here, or what?
I don't know what the prior contract looked like. It looks like a services contract, it just estimates amounts
yeah.
for material essentially for clothing.
Yeah, and I think they kind of prorated, I guess, for lack of a better word. So, you know, if it went on for 2 years and then, you know, you canceled your
But
contract.
you're comfortable with that company?
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, it's a
I
fairly
don't
large
necessarily
company. They
see
do
a
a lot of,
problem with it.
yeah. Their clothes are considerably cheaper. One problem we ran into with our other one, I mean, if somebody lost a shirt or they took off the shirt or whatever, $45, $50 a shirt, I mean, these are, you know, $7 or $8 for a t-shirt type thing, so I think it'll work out better.
John made a motion, Randy seconded that, and I'll make that unanimous, so that's the one I need to sign.
Yeah. I think it's the one I got circled right there.
What else you got?
The council meeting on 1/22/22. We have a HWC contract right now that's doing our signs to the county. So, let me find my picture. The original letting date was supposed to be 11/15/23. NDOT sent out a notice and encouraged anybody that had a letting date that was out a year to try to move it up. So, we would like to move the letting date up to 11/16/22. We'll have to ask for additional appropriation of $60,000. Of course, it is a federal match grant. Talked to Teresa about it. It sounds like, you know, we'll be finding the money into things on that.
So what do you need from us?
I don't know if I need anything besides just as long as we get it through council.
And when you get, you grant application, you'll want to bring it in whenever you get ready to apply for the funds, and then we'll do that cover sheet, and then we'll have both boards approved, because if there's match, then Teresa can say, yeah, it's already been budgeted or whatever, and then they can move forward, so will you be back in January, you think, for this?
Yeah, when we go to, we can't do it before 1/22, when the
Okay.
budget re-ups. for-
Okay.
Yeah. So that's that. Gov deals, we have an array of mostly non-running equipment, that Gov deals come down to the online auction service. It does a lot of municipalities. Randy come down and I run him through our equipment and kind of agreed upon what we ought to get rid of, which is a lot. I guess as long as you all guys are okay with using Gov Deals, online service. It doesn't cost the county any money. They put a buyer's premium on top of whoever buys it. And if it doesn't bring enough money, we can opt out. We don't have to sell. So if there's something we think should bring
So it's an
$10,000,
online auction?
govdeals.com, yeah.
Okay, just like you said, as long as there's no legal issues, but otherwise, yeah. I don't know what there would be, but I'm just,
Disposal of personal property.
County highway
Commissioners are over
property.
Yeah, okay.
that, but if they give him permit, and his gov deal is like an AIC certified kind of vendor or whatever that the state recognizes, follows all the state statutes on disposal of personal property from government. I would say it would.
I would bet we'd have to prove it too, wouldn't we? To allow the
You
procedure
are the
that-
board
yeah.
that disposes of personal property.
There's
So if you
the-
give him permission to use that, then you've empowered him to continue that course with govdeals.com.
I'm good.
Randy?
I'll second.
Okay.
I'll make that unanimous then.
Get rid of all that stuff.
We had a guy come down, he took a bunch of pictures, so he's, just as I gave him the word, he's gonna, he said he'll do 10 items at a time because it would be kinda overwhelming for me with all the questions if we made more than that, so. We gotta be moving forward. Let's see, the next thing. Oh, let me go back to that, the gov deals. So do we need to create an ordinance fund for that money
Yes.
to go in?
Have you looked to see if you've already got an auction proceeds fund? Because over the years, the highway has been a partner in the county auction, so to speak, and if it's funded there, we usually try to return it to the department so they can have the money to use in the ensuing budget year. when it's county.
I mean, if it's in there, I haven't seen it.
If,
But that
okay,
doesn't
and we
mean
may have one already, what we'll do is look in the funds,
Okay.
and then I'll get one at the next meeting if you need to
If need
establish
to
a
be.
funds ordinance,
Fair
okay?
enough.
Well done.
Okay. The next thing is, we were originally gonna go to council and try to get some money for, some gravel roads, particularly Bogart's Road, the end of it, that's in pretty bad shape. Teresa and Tammy worked, they kind of both agreed that we can be in compliance if we use some of the, budget money that we have left in our paving line, since we're upgrading the road, kind of, it's a little bit of preservation work, it's a little bit of construction work. So with that being said, we have enough, funds in that line item to cover some of the things we talked about, but this will give you a rough idea of the investment we're talking about putting into it. So if we can,
What's the plan?
and this is money that's it's there.
And this, I assume you're gonna grade it and rock it, or?
Yeah, so that's raising it up to 12 inches of slate and then adding 12 inches of 53s. They're gonna do some ditch work. I put optional on some of that stuff, and that's just kind of going above and beyond, I guess. It's geotextile. It's kind of standard use for road bases. It isn't maybe 100% anything we have to do. Those are just options, like if you want to say, well, we ought to cut some money out of it. There's where it
Well, I
could
just
be.
wanna know if it's gonna work.
Is it gonna work? Well, it's definitely gonna work better than what's there.
Well, I get it, but I mean, will it last? I mean, is this gonna be
So,
something we have to do every?
I was gonna print a
year?
picture out and I forgot. You would think that road base would be
Yeah,
feet, but Denver does some digging, and I guess it's where it's just the sandy soil and it's literally maybe 3 or 4 inches of rock,
Yeah.
and it's just gone. It's just mud.
well, that's what I'm concerned.
So the geotextile and the slate, and we have some doing some under-drain work and stuff through there. It is a very low-lying area, but I believe it would be a good step. It's
I'm wanting to help, I'm probably gonna go along with this, but
Mm-hmm.
that is such a bad road,
right.
and it is terrible. I totally agree with that. I just wanna know if we're gonna do something here, that's a pretty good chunk.
It
Is
is.
that gonna be something in 9 months, it's gonna be the same way all over again?
No, I don't believe so. For the reason, right now, there's nothing, it disappears just about as fast as we put it
Yes,
on,
it
and that's
does.
because it has nothing to hold it up.
Yeah,
Are we still gonna have washing issues from time to time? Yeah, there's no fixing that.
Okay.
But it's not gonna just disappear into the ground and mud's gonna pump up through it. We're gonna solve that issue.
How many dump trucks did we take down there, 3 months ago?
I think 25 dump trucks is what that number
We
is.
took, yeah, we
Which
took
would be 15
25
tons.
loads down there 3 months ago and it's gone.
Yeah.
I know, that's what my concern is.
Yeah.
I wanna make sure that's not where we're heading again.
Right, yeah, I just.
No, I feel confident that's not where we're gonna go.
So how deep are we talking about on the ditches to try to keep the water, even if it hits the ditch?
So,
Are we talking about a new ditch on the other side?
on the field side,
Yeah,
somewhat of a ditch, yeah, we're gonna dig one down through there to drain the water out.
and my curiosity is the landowners aware of that?
Yes,
Okay,
Denver's been in contact with
Okay.
Lytle through there, and he was all about whatever we could do to make the water move. I would just be honest with you, I don't believe that ditch is gonna be a long-term fix. I think it'll silt in, I think they'll pile it back in and it'll be gone. But with that being said, right now the road bed is a foot below grade, meaning it's a pond.
Yeah,
So if we get it up and head it to the east, water will drain off of it when it's not under floodplain. And then you can keep a road base through there, because I would have never dreamed the kind of traffic that does go down that road. It is a major cut through, but I wasn't really aware of it, but it is.
and you're talking, I'm jumping in here. Are we talking just Bogartis Road, or are we talking about going on out to?
That's
Ellie
just
Mill?
Bogartis.
That's just Bogartis. The other side's still gonna be, that's even worse.
It's even
Yeah,
worse.
it's even worse.
Uh,
We'll get hit on that one after we fix Bogarts.
Well, you know, I got a road or two too I need work on.
No, I mean, you know how it is.
And
Once you get one road halfway decent, everybody's gonna say no to me.
They will.
And we're heavy on the 53 part. I mean, that's heavy. I believe there will be
Yeah.
extra 53s to put around, but,
Okay.
you know, that's what I figured if we went a foot thick.
Now then, I didn't catch the first part of this. You think you got some money somewhere for
Yes,
this?
we do have money left in our paving, gravel, road line, that we've agreed upon that it can be compliance to use it. At first, we didn't know that it was or not,
Okay.
but it, you know, pretty soon Tammy thought it would be.
You know what, if you'd make that road better, God bless you. That
I
place
believe we
needs it.
do.
Did you ever get didn't you send somebody out there to do the count on?
We never did get it done, to be honest
Okay.
with you. I had a plan on it, but I haven't done it yet, but I've spent some time out there with a few people looking at some different options, and I got a pretty good idea how many people's rolling through there even in the
What are
middle
we
of the
talking
day.
there, about a half mile,
8/10 of a mile.
8/10 of a mile.
Yeah. So,
Well,
it's investment, there's no doubt about it, but
Well, I'm with you on this. I just wanna make sure we're not just going somewhere similar to where we've been with it.
Well, I'm like John, I wanna make sure our money's spent well.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's, 20-some dump trucks of rock out there and it's not there anymore. So, I mean, I don't know if,
Yeah,
maybe we need to call Jennings County or Jackson County, see if they come out there and got it, so.
yeah.
but, yeah.
But,
I was actually lucky enough to have a guy with me yesterday from Davis County, a lot of years as superintendent there, and half their roads are gravel.
roads.
Yeah, and we was going out there to look at that road for rejuvenation. I said, well, let's run down here and look at this. Because we was talking about gravel roads, different techniques that he used over the years. And he's like, well, I'm kind of surprised you haven't done this road, ain't that bad? And I'm like, well, you'd be surprised. You know, he looked at it and, yeah, he agreed, you know, we can make, like he said, the biggest deal was making the water run off the road. And they had 8 graders running a day, so, at one time on the gravel road. He gave us some advice on some chloride and stuff to put in it, and that would help the gravel last, and so on and so forth.
Okay.
So,
Well, like I said, I just don't wanna throw bad money, 'cause
Yeah, I would.
good money to a bad project, and
all right,
if it will, if we got a better than good chance of saving the road, and, 'cause I know several roads that are underwater most of the time, or I won't say most of the time, but a lot of times.
yeah.
And there's people say, well, why don't you pave it? Well, I'm not gonna pave it, cause it's not gonna be there.
It's not gonna last.
It won't last, and
Yeah, I'll kind of go both ways on that. You know, if you was ever going to pave it, I think it does, what we're doing needs to be done for sure.
oh, yeah.
Yeah,
We do have a lot of roads that, you know, 256 going out to the Austin bottom, it stays underwater a lot, and truthfully, I mean, it's that road, there's not a lot of potholes, there's not a lot of trouble with it, besides the flooding.
let me say this, if you got any left over on this, I got a couple of roads I'd like you to go out and take care of while we're at it.
I believe we'll definitely have something left over, stretch it down.
We
but-
got a parking lot, we black out down here.
That's probably not gonna hang on. Just
No, to be honest with you, I'm not 100, there's more than that is left. That is left
remember.
over. I have to get with that.
But I mean, we have this amount to
Yes.
get this done already, we don't have.
Yeah, that would not have to go to council, that is in
Okay.
budget right now, that was questionable whether it would be eligible for it, but.
And that's, and I'm going asking questions, that won't affect us next year?
No,
We won't
that's,
put it- I won't put a
that's the
short
thing,
on
I
it.
have to, you know, if we kinda agree upon this, I got the quotes, I'll get the invoices and we'll have to push it through this year.
Yeah, but I mean.
Because if not, that money's gone.
But it won't cut us, okay.
That money is
Use it or
for,
lose it.
it's use it or lose it.
Okay.
So if we have a good place that we can be in compliance and use it,
Yeah,
Okay,
well, that even entices my
more,
thing
Yeah.
to say yes, so.
okay,
But my only concern ever was that, you know, is it a good project? Is it
Right.
something that we're just wasting our money doing what we're doing, so
yeah, it would bother me that 6 months from now, we go out there and,
go out there and build a pier and
Yeah.
just,
Just, to back up, I'm sorry.
yeah, I'm 100% confident that's not gonna be the
Okay.
case. I'm never gonna deny we won't lose some gravel off the top on occasion that washes
That
off in a
happens
big flood.
anytime,
But we're still gonna have that base no matter what, because that's gonna be slate, it's gonna be locked in, that's not washing off.
okay.
I met with Brian Royalty, who's the engineer, or used to be an engineer at the state, and he agreed that this was probably the best action to take on that road also. Just to making sure that we're not wasting money, you know, I want to tell you that I had the same concern.
okay.
All right,
Well, you need,
you gonna spend any more money?
I don't think about that one.
do we need to vote on this or this,
I think it's just,
You need to vote on it.
or something we do?
Yep.
Well, I'll make the motion to, do I need to, I'll make the motion to approve this project. Do I need to quote the numbers here?
I know, cause it's there's a lot of options there.
Okay.
As I say, he's got the money in his account.
Well, I'll make the motion to pass out of this, where'd she go? Out of the fund that, it's gonna come out of a fund, I don't know
It
which
is.
fund, so I assume we need to make a motion to pull it out of that fund to use, because you need it.
2021
program.
paving fund.
Yeah.
Okay, that's my motion, to use that.
I'll second that.
John made a motion, Randy seconds a motion to, repair Bogartis Road. And I guess this is North Bogartis Road.
It'd be far north.
To put a slate base on it and, some rock to bring it up to grade and also to ditch it, so I'll make that unanimous.
Okay.
Thanks, Kevin, for your hard work on that.
Oh, you're welcome.
I was very time consuming to come up.
Yeah, had a little bit of time
I just
on it.
wanna make sure, Randy knows that next year he ain't getting.
He ain't got nothing to do. Hey, one quick thing.
Hey, where'd you get the idea we're kidding? Who's laughing?
Katie Adams sent an email. It says, please notify your contract signer that this contract is being routed for signatures if you have any questions on that. So you may be
She
looking for
sent
an
me
email.
something, but I kinda leery about somebody sending me an email and telling me to sign something.
I think they're going paperless, they're going to
Well,
a
that's fine,
DocuSign.
but I'll send that to you, cause I received an
They
email.
requested an e-sign.
Yeah, it's a DocuSign. I wanna make sure you look at it before I
Sure.
go on and DocuSign something
And
online.
she just sent it to me, but
Yeah, I
make sure you
saw it.
knew, so.
So I'll, remind me, I'll forward that to you. Yeah. We're gonna take a little recess here, so, I guess, I'm gonna
Make a motion.
make a motion to,
John's gone, so.
go ahead.
Have a Merry Christmas.
Hey, you let me know.
I was playing tennis and my tennis racket was falling out.
Marty, you know how to pause that thing?
The skin right off.
You know how to pause that thing?
So in a week or so, it'll grow back. It doesn't look right, does it?
No, I just,
I look like Rudolph, don't I?
I may be overcharged on that, I didn't know.
She might.
Have a good Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Have a good Christmas. You can't come up here yet. You can't come up here yet.
Can I?
And this is all, time.
Can I fit in here somewhere?
You're on there, I think.
Just a EMS medical.
Yeah, you can talk at that time. Hit a pause.
I'm presuming it is home.
Just don't say anything you don't want to record.
That's true.
Yeah. Give me the
Don't tell anybody their Christmas gifts or anything.
You can stay here.
Yes, you,
I have a plethora of information. Said I have a plethora of information.
I'm not getting my dictionary out, so.
I have a lot of information.
Okay, there you go. They might even recognize you. You incognito?
Yeah, new truck looks good, don't it?
New fire truck? Oh,
Looks good.
yeah. Yeah. Kinda wish they hadn't have done the bump up cab,
Oh, yeah.
Stand up,
Kinda throws the others off.
I don't follow that. I don't have tattoos or anything else. It's already on that.
How you doing, young man?
No worries for wear. I was thinking as I was coming in, I forgot to bring your own little goodie bags. I'll bring it down to Tammy.
I look like I need.
We'll never get it.
They're gonna eat it in the office.
Yeah.
Yeah, the girls will.
Why, how you doing? I said, how you doing? I don't know if this thing's still on, so don't say anything you don't want anybody to hear.
Excuse me, sir.
You know, reach around here.
Always here.
It's all right, I can say it.
Yeah, he's supposed to have a presentation here in a second, so. We probably aren't gonna vote on anything, but did he show it to you? Huh? We're not going there. Huh? It's not, we're not gonna do that. I don't even know how he was able to do that, because he didn't send us for any funding. So. Yeah, it ain't gonna happen. Where did he get I don't know if that's on or off, got paused or didn't get paused. Yes, I have that.
Yeah, this is the right copy. Always both
All right. I always like to do this.
Yeah, hit that thing.
All right, let's get back to our meeting here.
Oh,
John wants to get out for the midnight bell.
Before we go any further, Jim had a question. He's curious about, and I think we're talking springtime, about the parking lot over here.
Yeah, we're talking,
Are we recording?
I don't know.
Are we on the board?
Are we on?
I don't think we shut it off.
Cause he mentioned blacktop money, so I guess that's one.
No,
He's not talking blacktop.
we're talking about blacktop, and I think actually we're talking about using the blacktop funding. We're in agreement with the city to pay that parking lot once springtime comes, and he's ahead of the game instead of behind the game. So last year he didn't even get to start paving until I believe June or July.
August.
Yeah, so there you go, August.
Yeah.
So he had a couple other projects that, you know, we had told the city we'd have.
Project is going to benefit the county more than it is the city.
Oh, it's
really.
going to.
I think we had originally planned to have it done this, but it just ain't gonna happen.
It didn't happen.
Yeah,
I'd
but it's
rather-
gonna happen.
I'd rather it be paved in the, you know, the warmer weather. I just watched where the city or the school system just put in of course, you know, we have unlike warm weather right now, but they just paved a parking lot down there the other day, which I thought, wow.
School, yeah.
So anyway, that is a spring project.
Okay.
So I think actually Kevin talked at the last meeting about doing some site work out there this fall, putting some gravel and getting with Jason
Yeah.
about making sure everything's.
I keep
Ready.
having people tell me there's gonna be some drainage problems there, but you've looked at that too, haven't you?
Yeah, I met with Jason about it. That's gonna be his
Is that on?
plan. We're gonna pitch it to him, he's gonna do
Is that another
Just
number?
make sure he knows that.
I just think, you know, that they came out on the printer
Okay.
nicer.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyway, we're gonna talk about the ordinance, here with the, ordinance number 2021-023. It's the recertification of the commission of districts and redistricting of the council. We read this last meeting, and I'm gonna be honest here, we kind of threw the vote to try to push it to this meeting so that the public would have more opportunity to see what we were talking about and how the districts were going to change somewhat. We don't have our TV camera or TV up yet to show that, what the districts are gonna be, but I will just tell you, just off the top of my head, there was a district, and it was, I think it was a district, I'm gonna say Council District 3, that actually starts in Findlay Township and ended up in Lexington and then jumped up and picked out, north side of Austin. So, what they did was, can I see that, Zach? Maybe that kinda helps them out.
This is the new copy.
Yeah. This is the county, and if you see that, it kind of shows you that the green goes across here, but before, the green would come up in here and pick up some population. But because of technology, and the last time this was ever changed was 20 years ago, and technology with the GIS and being able to move people and population around easier on a map, created this, and actually I had it wrong, it's this way. It's, the blue is what got changed, this light blue, the red is Scottsburg, the green is actually, goes up into Austin, goes all the way down to Lexington, so.
Every single district was altered just a
Yeah.
tiny bit.
Everything shuffled in, and Zach was involved in this along as our attorney, so. So just to let you know, people are better represented this way. It didn't affect anybody that's an elected official. It didn't kick anybody out of a district or move them around to someplace. But what it did was, somebody that is voting for a councilman that lives in Lexington isn't a resident of North Austin, or the northern part of Austin.
Or vice versa.
Or vice versa,
Yeah.
so people are represented in the people that are in their areas, so. And it wasn't like it was 20 years ago where they just went out and grabbed some populated areas to make sure everybody's population was within a range. Also, by, I guess, state constitution, or state statute.
State statute.
We have to be within a certain percentage guideline of having that all equal. We were not in the past, we were at 18%. I think we're closer now to, I'm saying 12 or 13%.
We were at a 30% deviation.
Yeah, so anyway, we're within guidelines now of what the state is all asking us to be. So anyway, I'm not gonna read this again because I read it the last time in its entirety. So, and I will say this again, we kind of threw the vote last time to make sure that it didn't pass on the first reading. It did pass, but it wasn't unanimous.
So it passed on the first reading,
Yeah.
but it was not unanimous.
Yeah.
There was one vote against, so it still passed.
Yeah.
It just, I believe that's great.
And we did that purposely, so.
It was purposely, so
Yeah,
the
I
public
think
would have a
allow
chance to
public
look at
a
it.
second meeting,
Yeah.
so it wouldn't just pass on a first
Yeah.
reading, first and second reading.
So it did pass on the first reading, and we're going to vote again tonight on the second reading. And am I right or wrong? If it passes unanimously tonight, then we don't have to go to a third reading?
Yeah, if it passes tonight, it passes and it's adopted.
Okay.
Whether it's unanimous or not.
And again, there's a reason for the timeliness of this, is because, again, state statute says that it has to be into the state auditor by a certain time period, so.
And we had good work with our clerk, WTH, I think was the
Yeah.
program that worked on it, and they were really
It was
putting,
what the hell.
we couldn't have done it without them, I don't think, yeah. So, and then attorneys involved, so we did everything we could do to make it fair we could for all the
What it
districts.
looks like right now.
And I'm sure somebody will be
Make sure I'm holding
mad.
it up right. All right, here's what it used to look like. So what is here in the yellow or the beige or whatever, you can see where it was up in the northern Austin area. So it actually changed from that to this. So there is a big difference. So there's a big difference as far as squaring it all up, so.
Doesn't make a much difference on the commissioner's race, because we're all countywide voted anyway, so.
And actually, the only thing it really does affect, right now is county council, district races. The at-large, everybody votes for them as well, so it's the 3 districts that are represented, or 4 districts that are represented by, those specific areas, so.
And it didn't alter any precinct boundaries or anything, it only changed which precincts may be in which district. So, there's no change to where people would be voting necessarily,
Yeah.
it just may be a change in what district you're voting, who you're voting for.
And again, the reason we're doing this, every 10 years, there is a census done in the state of Indiana, and then there's because of that, population changes or whatever, that's when the state steps in and tells the county clerk that she needs to make some adjustments. As you well know, the state government has changed their districting as well. We're losing a U.S. senator or a U.S. representative. We're going to go to 1 district there. We're also losing a homegrown senator. He's going his district. He lost Scott County and he goes to Clark County. Actually, they did away with Senator Grooms' complete district in Clark and Floyd. So there's a lot of movement done with the Senate races, and actually our state representative, or our U.S. representative, is kind of leaving some areas as well. So, and
We, I get a lot of people ask me who is our senator and rep right now in state. I honestly don't know.
that's Chris Garden.
Well, he's gonna be moving down to Clark though, isn't he?
Well, he's going to move south.
I mean, who will replace him?
Chip Perfect. He is a senator that lives in Lawrenceburg, Indiana.
He'll be over here regularly, I'm sure.
Actually, I've never met him, but he owns the ski lodge over in Lawrenceburg.
He'll be our senator, and who's our rep?
Well, our rep will still be Zach Payne, but also Jim Lucas, I believe, will come down and he'll have the northern part of Austin.
Yeah,
We'll have 2 reps.
I'm gonna say Zach Payne lost Austin.
Yeah, he lost, Zach, the line stopped somewhere in Austin, kind of zigzags through there, but we lost our U.S. representative, Greg Pence.
Yeah.
And now Trey Hollingsworth will be our representative over the whole county, so.
Just to be clear, guys, the map changes don't take effect until after the next election.
Yeah, that's correct.
So your representatives are still who they were
Yeah,
before they did the change. It's only for the next election who you're gonna be voting for, and after January 1, when they take office, who they'll be representing.
yeah,
Okay.
that's true, that's true.
Okay.
Because actually Senator Grooms actually resigned or retired or whatever. They caucused in a new senator in his position, but at the end of that I guess 2022, he will not be, unless he gets elected in another district.
He's actually running
I
against
know.
Aaron Houchin,
Yeah, I
so
knew
there's
that.
gonna be a primary battle there, yeah.
Yeah, so, but like I said, there's a lot of changes, and some of it, and quite honestly, a lot of it affects us. I mean, we had 2 representatives from the U.S. Representatives, we lost 1, so I kind of liked it the other way, where I could talk to 2 people instead of 1, so. But anyway, I'll entertain a motion to accept this.
Does anybody, I would open it up first, since we did call a second meeting, does anybody have any questions about the districting changes?
Okay,
So you're nothing, your
crickets.
motion's on
I'll make a motion.
Randy makes a motion to accept the ordinance number 2021-023, which is the ordinance of the Scott County Commissioners of Scott County, Indiana, establishing county commissioners and county council districts for Scott County, Indiana. So Randy makes a motion.
I'll second that motion.
John,
On a second reading.
John will second that motion on a second reading, and I'll make that unanimous, so it passes on the second reading. So, moving along. EMA, Jeffrey. And while Jeffrey's making his way up here, I want to do a disclaimer, I guess, about the tornado that happened through Kentucky and the high winds and things that we had here in the county. It has been the practice of Scott County, and I'm going to say Scott County EMA and the area fire departments and everybody else, that during severe storms like we had, and we skirted one, but the fire departments are usually the ones out that night and cutting trees and helping people and whatnot. I know there were some people that were complaining that we didn't have shelters set up prior to this storm coming through, but if we set a shelter up every time the Weather Channel said there was going to be a storm, we'd be doing that all the time, because that's never been a policy or practice that we've ever had in Scott County. It's always, you know, we had a 38-inch snowfall one time from the 19-mile marker to north of Crowsville, I think, but at that point we opened shelters then at the school and some churches and put people up. So just want people to know that that is not a practice that we have, and quite honestly, after watching the news coverage for the last week of the horrific tornado that went through Kentucky, they didn't set those shelters up prior to any of those things either. So just to clarify, so the public knows that nothing was done any different than it has been in years past or anything else.
And shelters generally are for after.
That's correct. That's correct.
A lot of people are displaced and they need a place to go.
That's exactly
and
right.
in these cases, you have to think about this. I mean, this storm took out an Amazon building. So where is a good idea to put everybody in one building if that can happen? So it's a guess. You really don't know where to go. But you have to make a best guess.
But you also don't want all those people on the road.
Yes.
And I will commend the community that night, because I was up till 4:30 in the morning, listening to radio traffic all night long, and there wasn't a whole lot of cars on the road. And I commend people for staying home, hunkered down, and that's what you need to be doing. So most of the time we ever have problems with emergency situations, people are out gawking around, especially in snowstorms. They want to get out and get hung up, stuck, and cause wrecks and everything else. But go ahead, Jeff.
I was going to start by apologizing to you guys. I know you two received phone calls. I don't know if Randy did or not.
He didn't answer it.
I can't ever get a hold of him.
I didn't. By the way, I didn't answer it either. It woke me and my wife up.
Times three.
But it was pretty nasty. I was out. I left my house at 10 o'clock that night. I got home at 2 o'clock. And you're right. I drove around the whole county, monitoring the weather, and there was hardly any traffic out.
Yeah.
So you hit that nail on the head. That I just want to apologize to you three for getting those phone calls.
Oh.
It is not the practice to set up shelters. It's not. The way I look at it, if I would have set up a shelter and told people to leave the safety of their house, Zach might think differently, but I would say that the county's been liable because I told people to leave their house, and if they get out and get in the flood water or drive into the path of the tornado, then I put that liability on the county. So that's not going to happen.
And I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, we have talked, and maybe in the future we might have some kind of a public forum where let the public know exactly, probably better what their options are.
I wanna say something again, because and I have it on my phone, and people, if you're listening, you can go to give the website or wherever they can go do it, but you can go out there, take your phone, and you can sign up to get an alert on your phone for any kind of emergency that there is,
Actually, they
for
go to
Scott
the-
County only.
You can go to the county website, and if you go under EMA, there's at the very bottom, it tells you how to sign up for Nixle. All you gotta do is click that box, and it'll do it basically for you. And then you'll get alerts just for our county.
Yep. So if you're sitting home, and matter of fact, listen to some of the people who went through the tornado in Mayfield, the guy that went to the basement with his 2 kids, got the alert on his phone, got his wife up, they went to the basement, the top of their house went off, but they were safe.
Our Nixle, even Emergency Management's Facebook page is set up that when the National Weather Service sends something for our area, it is posted on both of those automatically. Okay? So all you gotta do is sign up for it.
And for some people that are trying to figure out what I'm talking about, if you have school kids or you're a grandparent and you sign up at the school for any kind of alert through the school, you're gonna get the same alert that you would.
You can sign up email, text,
Yeah.
or on a telephone.
So,
Well, my hope is somewhere, like we talked, we might be able to do some kind of a public education type thing, let people know more of what their options are. I think sometimes when this happens, there's a certain amount of panic sets in. I can understand that. You're sitting there having a tornado come in your direction, you know, can be devastating. And so people are looking for answers. So maybe this is me, I'm talking here on this when I've talked to you about it. Maybe we can somewhere in the future do some kind of a forum. I don't know if the public forum will go out. There's so many different things can happen. I mean, we're talking tornado last week. I mean, it might be a train derailment next week. It could be, there's so many different things that could happen. And then the public doesn't know what to do. So somewhere along the line, maybe we can make that information more available to the public, where they need to go and what they need to do.
and also with that is that past EMA directors, current EMA director, there are plans for every scenario of a disaster, and who's going to get called, what organizations are going to set up, and what's going to happen. So for people to think that nobody has a plan out there, that's not
John
true.
came over yesterday and I showed him the book. It's that thick. And it goes from everything from a thunderstorm to terrorism. And I gave all 3 of you that on the flash drive.
Yeah, I've got it right here in front of me.
And it's open, anybody can come to my office and look at that at any time.
Doesn't Walmart still say that you can come in there for some?
They close at 11 o'clock at night, so at night
Well,
yes, in the past.
Like I said, they can take an Amazon building down, they can
But
take.
again, that's what I was gonna say,
No.
you gotta keep in mind that
Yeah.
what you just said, that it doesn't matter, if you're in the path of a tornado, good chances are you're.
But I think we know what to do. I want to let the public know what maybe they should do. Under so many different circumstances, things could happen. It's just, like I say, if it comes at you, you're scared, and you want to know what to do, and you're looking for help, and
Got all kinds of public education materials I can put out. We just, Linda just ordered 7, I think, cases of coloring books. Prepare with page root, and it covers tornadoes, thunderstorms, to distribute to the schools.
Well,
you know,
most of the time the kids know.
I mean, there would be some people say you need to go to the schools. Well, that didn't work at Hendersonville. So there's a very difficult thing on where to tell people to go. You gotta go to where you think is safest, and out in Kentucky, I don't think they had maybe 5 minutes notice, did they?
It wasn't very much.
I mean, outside of the
Well,
press,
I will say
the
this,
TV's,
from-
National Weather Service.
From some of the people, they were saying one of the sirens went off at like 5:30, and there was a big wall between 5:30 and when it actually hit, and a lot of them kind of, started milling around again after the first thing went off. But anyway, I just want people to know that we're not flying by the seat of our pants, that there are plans, and there are.
I am out there. I was out during the last big snow driving the roads. I was out the night the EF0 tornado hit Lexington, in October. And we didn't have any type of warning for that.
Where's Brandon at?
It just
He was in
dropped
one.
out of the sky.
How much notice did you have when that tornado hit you?
Not enough.
Did you have 5 minutes?
Actually, you drove in it,
I
Wade.
drove
kinda
right
got
in there.
myself into that one. I tried beating on the interstate. They got up on it too quick, so I had to get underneath an overpass, so
Yeah,
it happened pretty quick.
yeah.
I wanted to apologize to all three
You
of
don't
you.
need to
for that.
apologize to me.
Me either.
I was gonna get up anyway.
Yeah.
It just woke me up.
Couple of meetings ago, the sheriff was here, and Mike asked me to look into a few things, and I've done that. First, I want to start out by saying, at no time should a fallen officer's name be brought into a discussion over a radio system. That went right through me, it went right through a lot of people. He died doing a job he loved, protecting every one of us in this room and state. And on my behalf, the radio system didn't have anything to do with that. I went back yesterday and listened to the radio traffic. The dispatchers on duty had ample notice. There was an officer that went to 56 and 62 and was there with stop sticks before it ever got there. So the radio system, his name should have never been brought up in that. And on my behalf, I apologize to his family and his fellow officers and people who were on the scene that night.
Wow.
It shouldn't have been brought up.
You're exactly right. I bit my tongue that night too, because I listened to the radio traffic from the time they left, Charleston to the time that the accident happened, and well, I think but there's 2 officers in the room here, former officers that, I was there.
Yep, and they were both there, and there was another gentleman that was there on the ambulance section.
So, I know exactly what happened that night, so that
So
should
I
never
just-
happen, so
I just wanted to clear that up, that should have never been
I agree.
brought up. And I apologize to his family and everybody else that was involved. And it's not my place to do that, but
I get it.
I do it. Secondly, the sheriff brought up that he was gonna be mandated to go to 800. If you look at this sheet in your packet that I got you, this is IPSIC, the state agency that runs the 800 system. Okay, it's their policies. If you look at number 3, it's voluntary participation. They cannot and will not mandate any agency to be on 800. Okay, it's just not going to happen. It's right there in their policies. So, with that being said, this sheet here, if you have any questions, that's everybody that's on the IPSIC board. From Superintendent Carter of the State Police, you have representatives, state senators, sheriffs, fire chiefs, and mayors. And I'm sure if you reach out to any of these people on this board, they can tell you. And I will also tell you that I was in a meeting with IPSIC and the Motorola rep with the sheriff of Jackson County and the sheriff of Jefferson County. And Jerry asked if it was possible to get that stuff donated. And they kind of chuckled and said, well, you can try. And he said he had equipment donated. I reached out to the Motorola rep that works with IPSIC, that's on the National Emergency Number Association board with me, and asked him bluntly if that had been discussed. And he said the only equipment that was discussed and donated was a 5-channel repeater. That's about $20,000. So you're still looking at $729,000 of equipment that would have to be purchased. Okay?
Well, but let me clarify something. That's to set the system up
That's,
for, if we went to, if the county decided they were gonna go to 800 radios, there's gonna be over 100 radios that are volunteer firemen that would have to not scrap their radios because, again, I'm gonna tell a fact here, but they would have to, the fire departments would have to come up with 100 radios roughly. But the funny thing about 800s is that 800 will not, unless the technology has changed, but you cannot page on an 800 radio. So you have to keep a low band radio to be able to page, and I know that because Floyd can't shit. What? I said shit. Henryville, Monroe Township has they handle 2 radios because they tone on a radio and and once they tone they go to an 800. Yes, I said it. That wasn't.
Hey, you didn't do as bad as I did last year like this time.
But anyway,
if you look at
you have to have both radio systems. So in turn, you're not getting away from one because you have to tone out on one to tone the ambulance service and to tone any fire department. Now the police ride around and they don't get toned out to radio or to traffic. So they don't need that type of system. But I guess where I was going at last meeting, that there was a big discussion about is when I was told that they were mandated and then we just got to do this and you don't have to do it. So go ahead, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
if you look, to clarify your point, if you look at the programming in our radios for the fire department, it's a mixed channel. And mixed by your own digital, but you're also on analog because you have to tone on analog. Okay? The EMS is set up the same way.
Yeah.
They get toned on analog, but they operate on the digital system. You cannot, well, I won't say you can't because I don't think you can tone, or you couldn't in the past on 800.
I've never seen it.
Yeah.
Because I know Monroe Township still has dual radios.
And to make, I talked to Michael Dyer yesterday, and Harrison County, because everybody in Harrison County, today's date, fire, police, EMS operate on 800. They just gave ECS the okay to install the system that we've looked at. 7 sites, 21 repeaters, and they're buying 809 radios to replace the 800 totally. $2.2 million. Okay, so Harrison County Sheriff is saying, you know, hey, I don't care what the state says, I'm going to this system because it works better. And last Friday I had to meet with the mayors and the police chiefs because Jerry has went and had a meeting with both police chiefs, and then he went and met with the mayors and convinced the mayors to go to 800. So I had to go over and meet with them and show them the difference. And right now they're just going to purchase, Scottsburg's going to purchase 5 mobiles. Because he's got 6 cars that don't have 800 capability. And Austin's going to buy 5 or 6 portables just so they have interoperability with the sheriff's department.
And here's my argument with the radios. When I first became a commissioner, and I know I tried to get schooled on, sticking with what I know, and if I need to know something about law enforcement, I'll deal with somebody else. But my biggest complaint, being at least 35 or 38 years on a fire department and having a radio in my hand for 38 years, is that I want to be able to hear, you know, in an emergency situation, what is going on and not have to listen or hopefully know that that person communicated back to dispatch and dispatch goes to a different radio system and contacts the other people that are responding to this emergency. I'm gonna give you an example of something that happened within a week ago of a young man that we searched for about 6 hours one night and about 5 hours the next day. And the sheriff's department was out there running around with 800s. I had an 800 because I have it through the fire department, but we don't use them. We just have them. But nobody else, with all the fire departments that were out there, could not hear what anybody was saying. And then when dispatch, not anything negative about dispatch, but when dispatch set the tones off, or actually they didn't set the tones off, but came over and gave the sheriff the indication that the kid had been found in Louisville, I heard on my radio, but nobody ever told any of the fire departments. And then, I guess me being a big smart, you know what, I got on the radio and said, could you set the tones off for the fire departments that are sitting out here, you know, in their vehicles, because they don't hear what is going on. There's going to be a time, and I hope I'm not around when it happens, but I hope there's never a time that somebody gets hurt because people can't hear what's going on. And
it was confusing because you had the sheriff's department communicating with their people, and then Jim Ritchie was trying to communicate the same information to the fire departments.
you know,
It would have been a lot easier if he was on one system,
yeah, I agree.
but.
Well,
anyway.
my indication, and as long as I'm gonna be a commissioner, and that can be till the next election, but, I'm never gonna go to a different radio system. And quite honestly, the sheriff went to an 800 system without the consent of the commissioners or whatever. He didn't, I mean, I assume how he got his radios, I have no clue, but,
He got a lot of them from the state surplus.
but the point is that, you know, each sheriff, I guess, can do what he wants, but it, you know, and he chose to go a different direction. But I will never, as a commissioner, vote to go to 800s because it's too costly, and I just won't do it. So, speaking of that, go ahead. I'm sorry. I'll shut up. So.
The other thing that I put in your folders is Mike asked me to track down the number of radios. And
Back down number what?
the number of radios the sheriff's department originally was given, and that came from ECS.
It was 30.
35, I think.
15, 20, 25, 35.
Yeah. But I mean, that was signed receipts, Dan McLean signed for them, so there's 35 radios somewhere.
Well, and actually, I'm because of the last meeting and declaring that he didn't know where the radios were. I guess I'm going to publicly ask for. There's 35 VIN numbers here, so I guess I'm going to ask to have those produced so that we know that county property is still with the county, and we didn't. You know, if he doesn't know that he has them, then I'd like to know where they're at. So.
That's it. Like I said, Harrison County's getting ready to go to that simulcast system. Dyer told me that the first week in January, Lawrence County is going to give the go-ahead to do, I think, 6 sites. So, and like I think I've told you 3, that I foresee this simulcast system replacing the 800 system.
Well, another tidbit of the day that we took the tour of Brown County, the Brown County Sheriff was there at the tower we were at, and the 800 was on the same tower that we were sitting there, and the 800 was down. So, and they were using this system. So,
And that's another thing that was brought up, that Our equipment, if it suffered a lightning strike, the county would be responsible for repairs. Since we've been with ECS, I've checked with Michael Dyer about it, and he says you have never had a lightning strike since you've been with my company. Now, prior to that, I think we were with RCS when we first started, but with ECS, we've been with for 14 years or however long, and we've not had a lightning strike. So, there's that. The last thing that I got for you, and I'm not gonna go over it with you, but just a little, how many calls we've done. It goes back to 2019, 2020. You can see the increases, decreases. One thing I'd like to point out on the very back page is the answer times. The national standard to answer a 911 call on a public safety answering point, 90% within 15 seconds.
It's what, 15?
15 seconds, 90% within 15 seconds. It's 95% within 20 seconds. And if you'll look, we exceed those constantly. We are above the bar for the national standard. And I just want to give credit to my staff that they do a fabulous job. I've got a bunch of good dispatchers and supervisors over there, and they make that place run. And it's something that I'm proud of, that they're exceeding that standard on answering 911 calls. So,
Well, you know, I'm always your biggest critic, so I appreciate it, and actually they have exceeded my expectations, so. And we talked about clarifying some calls, and did you say were able to do that? Like overdose calls and stuff, of being able to single those out?
yeah. I had them add a new complaint type that, and I've instructed the dispatchers and supervisors. The new complaint type is illicit drug overdose, which illicit could be meth, heroin, and, you know, meth and heroin are big drugs. So now if they get an indication that, you know, it may come in as an overdose, and an officer may get on scene and say, hey, I found heroin, they're to go back and change that complaint to illicit drug overdose. That way we can keep a better track of that way.
Sounds good.
I want to clarify something real quick. Jeff, how long have you been with EMAC?
October 13th was a year.
Was it a year?
Mm-hmm. Just a little over a year.
How long have you worked with it?
January 1st would be 22nd years full time. Probably 26 if you want to count part time.
Is this the low band system the best system you've seen so far?
The one that we went and saw, yes.
That's all one. Thank you.
The one that we saw is by far the best I've seen.
And you have experience with all of it, right?
I mean, before that one, John's first term, when he was on the old Plan A, you could be in Indianapolis and hear Scott County.
That's why they narrow band it.
Yeah, but that was 30 years ago.
You're telling my age here.
But I mean, that was a simple system, and you still.
That's back when you had hair, wasn't it?
Yeah. But you had to.
He told my age, so
you had to communicate.
Poor guy.
On one channel. If John wanted to talk to one of his officers when he was sheriff, he would have to switch to car-to-car frequency. You don't have to do that nowadays.
Ourselves?
So,
I got a question. If you're over the sheriff department to a certain point, You're not, okay.
No.
Well, say if it's jeopardizing the county for your communication issues. You know, God forbid anything ever happened where you couldn't all be in contact with each other. There's nothing you guys can do to see that it don't happen, the 800? If it applies to our safety for if something happens?
I don't think we can make him use any radio system, but I will say that I have told the sheriff and I told the mayors Friday, if you wanna go to a subpar system and risk and be able to go at home at night and not be able to sleep, that your officers are not gonna hit that button to key up and get a busy signal, that's on you.
That's what I'm saying. To
My
me,
job
some
is
kind of
to-
safety issue, why can't we head this off?
The only thing we could do is, as a government, is not approve someone changing, if he had to come in front of us, we could say we don't approve that. But then the council would have to go in and say, we're not gonna fund it. You know, if he came in and said, hey, I'm gonna go to this system, and they could say, we're not gonna fund it, because, you know, technically they wouldn't have the approval of the commissioners to fund it, but they would have the final say of whether they get in the money or not. But, you know, that's the only way we could do it, because he is an elected official. He is a department head, but he's also an elected official.
And it's a constitutional job.
Well,
that puts it even in a higher level.
So, I mean, we can't tell him that he can or he can't. I mean, I can disapprove of it.
Yeah.
And say I don't like it, because I don't think it's a good for Scott County. But as far as telling him, we can't. I mean,
That's why I didn't know if anybody could, you know, shut it down or something. It was dealing with the public safety, in case something did happen.
The 800 system is something that we have to have for interoperability throughout the state. So we can't just, and like I've explained it to the sheriff and everybody else, if we go to this new system, which is better, the next day I'm not gonna take the 800 console and throw it out. Basically what you're getting is you'll have 3 radio systems, because you'll have the 800, the repeaters that we currently operate on are still gonna be operational, and you're getting a new system. So you got 3 radios, technically.
3 systems.
Three systems.
This is an argument I've been hearing for 20 years, to be honest with you, 800s and low bands. And this new program you got, I agree, it's pretty awesome. Personally though, and I've talked to several different fire departments and whatnot, I'd like to see them guys experience it, see what they think.
Yeah.
Now, let me say this. I can agree with what you're saying tonight, and I don't have to agree or disagree with the sheriff, but he's not here to defend himself. And I think maybe it's a good thing, knowing how it can go, but I think he has the right to defend himself. And he can have a different opinion. We know he does. We know he does.
He can stay on the 800. I don't have a problem with that.
Actually, you and I have talked about that. I'm with that way too. But I know several departments scattered out throughout Indiana. They operate on the 800s.
They do.
And this is I know. Hang on. But this is always the argument I've always been hearing, and it is a shame that everybody can't get on the same thing. But we're talking with him not here. I think he deserves the right to have his say so.
Here's the issue with the 800 that I see. There's 3 counties out of 92 counties that do not have a tower in their county.
Yeah. Thank you, Jim.
A total of 3 counties in the whole state that the state didn't put a tower up.
Yeah.
And the state is out of the business of building towers.
Well, our closest one's like Henryville, isn't it?
We operate on Henryville Tower and the Fleener.
Yeah.
In Washington County. And then we got 3 other that we can hit.
Yeah.
I went to New Albany last week to pick up some supplies from EMA down there. And when I hit Charlestown Road, my 800, I couldn't communicate back to dispatch.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I can always switch over to a mutual aid channel.
And even though you're probably right, I know you're right, but there's a lot of departments use the 800s. I think we're getting
yeah.
And there isn't, well, I'm not going to go into all this because we're going to argue a point that I think is not need to be argued right now, but I think what I want, and I've asked several different departments to get with you and maybe make arrangements to go up to Brown County and listen to what they've got. I think people are gonna be impressed.
Actually,
I was.
they're supposed to bring a radio down here where they don't have to go.
Well, that ain't gonna happen. I'm sorry.
So Michael's not gonna do it.
Here's the issue with that. They said they would, but we're gonna be down here. When we was up there, we was talking on a handheld. The guy that was down here was on a mobile radio, okay? So if I program a handheld radio down here, I may not,
I get it.
you know what I'm saying?
Well,
But I
guess you
did
could-
talk to Dyer yesterday, and he said, I told him, hey, after the first of the year, I may bring the chief of police and the mayors up here to look at that.
And some of the fire.
And the fire chiefs.
And I think, well, you went to that, some of the fire departments are awful.
Invite everybody, and Michelle's still here. If she doesn't care, we can use her little black van to load everybody up and.
Doesn't have seatbelts, but you go for it.
Well, I just want these people to experience what I experienced up there, and then they can have a better.
Doesn't have seats in it?
Just the front two, so I guess whoever is the wiser guy knows.
I'll drive, I don't care if they sit on the front.
JR, you got something?
I was just gonna say two things. One, I think I would hope this board, being good stewards of our money as taxpayers, could put their funds into the dispatch center and then put the power in the director's hands as to what we dispatch on. If some department head, elected or not, that chooses to go to another system, then they should have to dispatch their own. Because you're pouring your money into the dispatch center, he should be the one to pick what we talk on. And then secondly, the 800 system, the issues that I know of personally from this county is the deputies who talk on it can talk on that alone. If you get out of your car, and I'm chasing John for lack of better words, across Walmart, Scottsburg or Austin police show up, they have no idea and they can't help you. And that is just what leads to the problem is when you're in your car, you can talk to every other agency. You step outside of that car, you can't talk to anybody but yourself. And if there's one or two guys on duty at night, they literally are only speaking to themselves in dispatch. So my opinion as a taxpayer, if you are gonna pour your money in, why not use your director that you have? And if he chooses to dispatch on a particular system, that's what everybody should use. If they choose otherwise, then they need to get their own dispatchers.
Okay.
I just have one quick question. If you go to this new and improved system that Jeff is talking about, do the fire departments have to buy new radios?
Nope.
'Cause I mean, that's a bunch
It's
of money.
it's simulcast off of 13 satellites. It's actually state of the art. I probably was kind of, leery about it myself, and we went to Brown County and got in. I mean, they drove us all around in the holes and hollers and places that you couldn't see on both sides of you, and
We went through mountains.
and it was pretty amazing. I was shocked, and plus, we were up there talking to a guy, still in those holes and hollers, and there was a guy that was one of their salespeople that was at Morgan's Food, and yes, he was on a mobile radio, but it was like he was standing beside us. I mean, and actually he was driving to Madison, was getting ready to go over the hill, and he said, "Hey, I'm getting ready to go over the hill here in Madison. I'm probably gonna lose you." So, and it was just, there was no breakup. It was clear as a bell, and I was just totally amazed. And
Just to clarify, it doesn't operate off of the satellites. The satellites, what it is there's a main server that would be in dispatch. There's 3 sites. One would be on the water tower by the interstate, one in Austin, and one in Lexington. Those satellites are used, and it only takes 3, but they use 15 to keep all 3 of those sites in sync time-wise. Because if it gets out of sync, it will quit functioning. So they have 13 other, 13 satellites to operate off of, so it doesn't ever drop.
If
That's the way it works. No extra equipment has to be purchased other than
If I had any concern with this new system, it's so good that, or I think it's very good. But the guy who's done a lot of purchasing in government and all that over the years says everything looks good when they're trying to sell it. A year late, but you know. But it does look that good. But I mean, a year from now, we're gonna go, oh Lord, they didn't tell us this part. That's gonna be another $200,000. It just happens. And I think I'm not pushing away from this. I think it's great. But I have that concern that it's so new that we're gonna be the guinea pig. Not just us, Brown County, everybody's doing it.
Well, there's 4 counties right now that are signed up for it, so, and I don't think Indiana is probably the first area that's doing this. But I will say this, the more and I'm gonna hack this up, but I guess it's the FCC, I might got that right. The FCC has narrowband radios in the last 10 or 15 years to the fact that you used to be able to talk everywhere. And now they keep lowering that band because there's more people on it. They lower it more, and the radios that used to work great, even our digital radios that I've got here, when they first came out, I'd be at work on Blankenbaker Road in Louisville, and I could talk or listen to dispatch up here. But when they narrowband it, it shut that out and closed a lot of that off. So if the FCC is continuing to do that, they're eventually going to shut us all out to where we're going to have to find something different because you won't be able to communicate that way. So I think it's almost futuristic, I guess is the word. But I mean, it's almost like John says, it's almost too good to be true. Because 800s, I'm gonna say it, 800s are the radio of choice of a lot of people, but at twice or 3 times the money for an 800 radio compared to what a digital, analog radio or a digital radio is. Fire departments can't afford it, the county can't afford it, and I think this is the system. If it's able to work like it is, the $490,000 that we'd be shelling out, I think is probably an easy money. So,
Have you decided to do that yet?
We haven't, I think we probably have, we've not brought it up to a vote yet. We're probably gonna do that after the first of the year. And quite honestly, I'd like to push that for the fact that there are more counties doing it. I think right now Lawrence or not Lawrence, but is it Lawrenceburg or whatever's doing it. Dearborn's doing it, I think, and then Harrison County's doing it, and I think there was one other that was Lawrence County over Bedford. So the more people are getting it, it's going to shove us out farther of when we'll be able to get on the system, because it's going to take a while to get the equipment, and we don't have to build a tower because they're going to use 3 existing water towers we have right now, and the printout that they've already done the study with is, and they won't tell you 100%, but they're 99% sure that there's 99% chance that anywhere in the county you're going to be able to talk to somebody, and you're going to be able to communicate with somebody, and like I said, I just think
that's just based on the 5-watt here. You want a mobile radio, it could be north of Indianapolis and talk back.
Yeah. So I might add, when we was in Nashville, we weren't using mobile, we was using handhelds. Yeah. And they were working that well.
Yeah, like I said, it's state of the art, and yeah, it's a big ticket item that you gotta think about and make sure you're making the right decision, but compared to $2 million or something the other way, I don't think that's going to be an option for me. But anyway, let's move on. The Leota Bridge roof repair scope of work. What happened here is that we took some bids for to replace the decking and the roof on the covered bridge at Leota. There were several people that brought bids in. Actually, I say several, there were 3. But they weren't apples to apples. Some of them were, found out later that some of them was replacing all the boards on it, and some of them were only bidding replacing a few boards. So what we did was we kicked all the bids out and said we're going to ask our county inspector to go out and look at the covered bridge and come with a scope of work, and that's what he's done here. So I guess what we would do now is, I guess I would send this to all 3 of the people that bid before and say, here's what we're asking you to bid on, exactly this, so that everybody's got the same bid, and one of them's not replacing 2 boards and the other one's replacing them all, and his bid's a big astronomical amount and the other one's not, and it looks like this is a great bid down here, but it's not what he's bidding up here. So but I will read through this and tell you what our building inspector says needs to be replaced and repaired. And so this was done on December the 13th. Repairs on the covered bridge, Leota. Remove shingles and plywood decking. Remove the fly rafters. Replace roof sheeting with 1x6 boards treated. Apply synthetic vapor barrier. Install standing seam metal roof system. 26 gauge painted, no exposed screws. Install continuous length fly rafters, no splice. Cover all metal gussets on trusses by wood, or I'm sorry, trusses with 1 by, what is this, width 1 by wood, what the heck's that?
1 inch by,
1 buys.
1 by material.
Okay, 1 buys, okay, all right. Seal all exposed wood with stain, and the above improvements will give the bridge an historical appearance. So we'll have the auditor or somebody send the 3 people that bid on it originally this scope of work, and they can come back with their bids, and hopefully they'll know exactly what they're bidding. So, and I know Randy's pushed this, and John's said it as well, and I'm going to echo that. In the future, I hope we do a better job of telling people what we're wanting to bid and how we want to bid it, and we probably need to do exactly this on anything that we're going to do in the future. That way, there's times when we get a bid, out here, and we get a bid down here, and you think, well, let's go with the low bid. Well, he's not doing the work that this guy up here bid. So we need to do a better job ourselves of saying, here's what we want. So,
Question on that. Are you going to add in there where the contractors are going to shut the road down, be responsible for the barricades and the signage, or the highway department? How do we handle that?
We can have them block it. I mean,
Don't ask him any more questions. Don't let him talk.
I don't know. I guess we get to that point. I don't know when they're going to do it, but
Yeah, I don't know.
I'd say they could just shut it down.
Is that going to be a 2-day job for them, or a week? Or
I don't mind at all telling them they're responsible for that, as long as you feel comfortable with it.
He's zoned out over there. He's asking if we need to have the highway department shut the road down while they're doing this, or should be the contractor do it.
Is there a problem with you doing it, or?
Yeah, I can't keep barricades
Yeah.
and signage.
They steal them, don't
So,
they? Yeah, they steal them.
I would rather the contractor do it.
All right,
I'm
so
okay with that.
I guess we can add that into the scope to make sure that when they close the road, that they're.
Could we have the sheriff's department go out there and actually do that, so we don't have to pay somebody extra?
No, what I'm saying is just barricade it. They can go up and around the other ways.
Yeah, it's just, it
We
it
got
should
a
be
question,
signage.
so, I'm sorry.
It should just be signage and barricade.
Yeah, I mean,
Watching.
they're not gonna come down through 100 miles an hour, but not unless it's me, but, anyway, I think if we can get that out and kinda add that to the bottom of this, that they're to provide barricades or whatever to block the road, but if they stay in a certain area down there, I mean, they ought to be able to, anybody that comes down there can turn on another road on Leeds, you know, without being blocked in. It's not like you're coming down to a dead end. So, all right, let's move along
wait a
here
minute,
so we can.
Brandon had a question.
Back to the bidding thing, in reference to anything to do with like graphics or anything for any type of emergency vehicles. If you open it up and take 3 bids or anything for an ambulance or a fire truck or whatever, if you have, and I agree with what you said, if you have bids and you've got huge differences in bids, but you're looking for the same type of square footage or design, and there's big differences in price between one company or the other, it needs to be specific as to what type of material you're using, because you can get the same, somewhat the same look or color, but someone may quote a 3-year material, someone may quote a 7-year, someone may quote a 10-year material. And that's just for future reference. If there's ever that situation to where, you know, this company is $1,000 more than this one, then there's a price difference for longevity of vinyl.
Okay.
And the type of vinyl.
Well, I guess I knew there was different types of vinyl, but I didn't know if there was a year,
Oh, yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
so if
You
that's.
I can, if I'm not using any type of specialty type vinyls to stripe a ambulance or fire truck, I can make it look like, I can make it look good with a 3-year material and make it look good with a 7-year. Let's just say I'm using just print material. I can do a 3-year or 7-year, but that's where you'll see a difference in pricing is the longevity of just your standard printed wrap material.
Well, I think if I was gonna do an ambulance again, I'd just see what the length, how long we were gonna have it, and that'd be the length of however I put.
I'll tell you what he's saying right now.
$20,000.
Do they really make a 20-year vinyl?
Here's what I'm picking up on this, Brandon. Here's what I'm picking up, and this is exactly what happened here.
Yep.
You got 3 guys here who don't build roofs. We got a guy here, we don't do the work you're talking about. So when we do this stuff, we've got to get with somebody who's not gonna bid to tell us what we need.
Yeah.
So we can have everybody on the same page, and quite often, we don't know what's best to do with these things. In this case, we went kind of the hard way and had to figure out the right way to do it, and I think we do have it right now.
Yeah, I think so.
But if we're not in the business you are.
But what I'm saying is
Example of what you were talking
if
about.
we're gonna keep an ambulance for 4 or 5 years, then I don't want a
Yeah.
10-year graphic on it
Yeah.
unless the price is reasonable enough that, you know, we're gonna get a better quality of material and a better look. But if it's gonna last 10 years, we're not gonna have an ambulance for 10 years or a fire department.
And some of that's gonna have to fall back a little bit on the contractor too, you know, if you're quoting it and you're saying, look, this is a 10-year vinyl, and you might even want to put in there, okay, this price for 10 years, this price for 7 years, this price for 3 years.
Yeah.
And
But
what
if you
I,
had
some of
told me
that-
this, you wouldn't have known to ask.
and what I found out
I
from
didn't know that.
Brandon educated me on this quite a bit. All that stuff on the front end's the cheap part. It's that back end.
It's a reflector.
Well,
Yeah.
and not just the longevity of vinyl is not the only thing that predicts the price of an estimate. It's the type of vinyl as well. Like if you're using 22 karat gold vinyl, and you know, if it's a 5-year or a 10-year, or you can use an imitation gold, which is a 5-year or 4-year.
Yeah.
So pricing is not just set along longevity only.
Yeah.
If you use a specialty type material like brushed aluminum or something like that, it's more expensive than just the regular type.
And past experience, I'll throw this in too. I think these guys will agree. We would much rather use somebody local. I'll just get that in there and let it go with that.
And when you say like, you may not need a 10-year material, some material only comes in 10-year material.
Mhm.
Okay.
What's that? We're done.
All right, let's move along here. I know the EMS is still here, and actually, I want to jump around. Because we can ratify that stuff at the end over here.
I
You
didn't
guys,
realize, and I apologize,
you guys
I
wanna
didn't
come up?
realize you were gonna be here, Nick, I'm sorry.
Forgivable, it's okay.
No.
but anyway, one thing that we're talking about here, and I'm gonna throw this in there, because, you come on. The EMS Medical Director Agreement for 2022, that's Dr. Hicks.
Yep.
And, actually, where I'm gonna go with that is that I need you to write up a new MOU with him for 2022, because we only did it till the end of the year.
Okay.
And there's a copy in the packet at the very end.
And actually, and I will say this, because we were in kind of a dire need at the time when we found Dr. Hicks to step in as the EMS medical director. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, we ended up paying him $500 a month. Was it $1,000 a month from the time that he took over to the end of the year. But next year, we told him we were gonna have to go to, and actually that was right in the midst of the budget for the council. The council was working on everybody's budget. So we need to have a discussion with Dr. Hicks about what he will agree with for 2022. And if I'm not mistaken, the last time I had that conversation with him, and I think the number was 15,000 for the year. And I think Tammy sent me an email saying that she thought it was, that the council had set aside 12 for the 2022 year. So,
$50 a month?
pardon me?
How much is it?
1,000 a month.
1,000 a month.
And
That's
I think
now.
they probably based on that budgeted 12. I need to confirm that, but I was guesstimating that based on the current contract.
But anyway, I want to get with him to verify that he's fine with the 15 for 2022 for the 15 for the year. And then we need to draw up an MOU so we can, at the last meeting of the year, we can approve that. I think he is good with that from what I talked to him when we first talked about money. But I told him that we couldn't do that this year or in 2021 because the budget's already been set and everything. So anyway, we're gonna table that until the last month or the last meeting of the year. And hopefully I'll get with him and find out the 15's the number.
Yeah.
And then we can either approve it at that meeting, the council. I think we're doing a joint meeting with them, aren't we, or trying to?
We're gonna try to. You may have your own session. They may have a couple things and then quickly come together for a short joint session.
So anyway, all right, so that's gonna be the end of the year. Go ahead.
Okay, first off, we had an employee meeting last Wednesday for everybody kind of to get to know each other. Here's a copy of that, just so you guys have it, so there's no he said, she said stuff about what was went over. I gave you a packet, the back piece of papers in your packet. If you'd like, I will continue to provide. It's what I provided in my last role. It's the financials and run breakdown. It's that colorful chart that's back there that is broken down into several types of ways we're paid and types of runs we do. It's broken up into ALS, BLS, AMAs, what's billable and what's not, and then also the financials that we get from ABS. Obviously, you only see 2 months on there right now. I only had access to November. I didn't have any access to any prior months, and then the deposits we've received this month so far. So if you guys would like that continued, I'll be more than happy to continue to bring that, just so you guys know where we're at, run volume wise, and as well as financial wise.
Financial wise especially.
Yep, it's all on there. But for November, finished at $151,776.51. That's from all receivables from ABS and the stuff that's sent directly to us. One thing I'm going to also address is, I'm kind of going to jump to the bottom of my flow chart thing here. I know we kind of had not discussed anything, but I had mentioned stuff in my interview. One thing that I would like to do is request one personnel change, and that is to remove my deputy director from the truck. And part of the reason is in this packet. If you go to the piece of paper that has a really big black strip down the line, I think it's the second piece of paper you had in your packet. Looks like a bunch of rundowns. These are runs that are sitting for one thing only, and that's invalid signatures. That means the crew members did not receive the right signatures, and we can't bill from them. this is from this year only. If you look at the bottom, just this one reason we can't bill is $28,000. That's collectible.
And that's, correct me if I'm wrong, personnel's not filling their paperwork out, is that correct?
That, or it's not being caught in billing and changed prior to being sent from billing. And then now it hasn't been rectified since, I believe it goes back to October of 2020 on the top there.
Yeah,
Correct me if I'm
October
wrong.
15th.
Okay, so that's stuff that could have been addressed. Luckily, we still have time to correct some of this. Medicaid's a year, Medicaid 6 months, private insurance is about 30 to 45 days, so some of this stuff we're just out of the wind on. One thing I have done in my prior role is I did have the deputy director removed off of there, and their main concern for the first part of the day was addressing this stuff, addressing billing and all stuff like that. As you can see, just this one issue is almost $30,000. If that can be corrected off one issue, all the other stuff with invalid face sheets, invalid PCSs, you start doing that, we're talking about a lot of money.
And I'm
Yes.
guessing you're going, just from October, this has probably been going on for a long time. Yeah.
So, I would like to request that I am able to remove my deputy director off the truck to make it a salaried admin job. Not only does it do that, it allows us to have a fourth truck, have we need it during the day without any expense.
Job description, I said,
Yep.
yes, so
And-
he would need to bring that.
Does council need to approve? Yeah, so.
So
it's not-
they told me, well, I talked to them and I'd mentioned them to it. I will say that I don't have my budget yet, because as far as what's been approved or what hasn't and stuff like that.
We were
If
in-
it stays similar, I have about half of what I need to run this position already in my.
And that
staff.
doesn't mean, your deputy director can't get on a truck.
Absolutely not.
Emergency or something.
No, and that's what I was saying. We'll
Yeah.
still staff a truck, we still
Yeah.
chase, we still do
Yeah.
everything that we're doing. But what it allows us is, I can say from the last 2 years of what I've done, from the
Okay.
first year versus the second year when that ability's been there, it makes flow and responsibility a lot more.
And my head, HR head's rolling here for just a second. Would this be exempt or non-exempt? Would they have?
They do not have the ability to accrue
administrative-
overtime.
So they would not get overtime?
Nope. And that's why it allows us, if we work, it's no different than my job description when it comes to benefits. I get no overtime, I don't get comp time, I don't get any of
It
that fancy
depends on
stuff.
their role, whether FLSA would recognize them as an exempt position or a non-exempt position, depending on their duties. I would have to run that through HR for them to test it, because there's about 3 criteria that it has to meet, to be an exempt position. If not, it's 40 hours straight, then they could set the wage, and then there would be overtime, obviously, if it was an hourly. If it's non-exempt, it would be hourly. And again, they would then be eligible for overtime or comp time.
Right.
But you need an additional 30 grand for the position itself.
For
right,
next year.
As of right now. for
This
next
year I'm fine, and like I said, if, I don't have a set budget yet. I've looked at what Pat's provided me, that budget was done
But
prior
there's
to
a
me.
budget submitted, it's already been approved by
And
council.
we're in the 1782, we had a wait period, and when they issue a 1782, that means your budget has been looked at by the state and reviewed, and then you have to submit a paper back, and then they give you your final order, and that's what you have to live by. So we've not gotten our final budget order
Right,
as
so
of yet.
it's a limbo thing. So if it moves one way or the other, I could need less, I could need more. If I have the ability to transfer from a couple line items like I did before, I can probably carry mostly all of it. So,
Well, you won't need an ambulance, so,
you
won't need an ambulance, so you don't
yeah,
have to worry about.
there's some money
buying
there that I won't have to buy ambulances for. But I know it seems like it may not be needed, but I can, in my opinion, I don't wanna say I can tell you, from my opinion, it is definitely proven to be way more beneficial than it's not. Yes, there's a cost associated with it, but as you can see, if those were fixed from that little bit, there's half the cost done in that amount of time, because that's what's billable and collectible, that's not what.
What also gives us an extra truck.
It does give us an extra truck, it
They
gives us
also-
more ability to chase, I mean,
But it's,
and there's stuff changing with the FDA and the DEA, I don't know if you've ever had the pleasure of dealing with that.
you told me about that.
That's coming along, and I mean, there's a lot more stuff that checks and balances that, yes, it's ultimately my responsibility, but if we can have a double set of eyes looking at this that's continual, that, one day I'm not relying on your signature, and then one day I'm relying on yours and yours, there's a constant check and balance of narcotics and stuff that are coming along the pipeline, and something I'm more comfortable with, and I honestly think that for the cost of what it would be because I would like to see the salary set at pretty much what it's at right now. I think it's what, 60,800 is what they're budgeted for the year for the deputy director, within a couple.
I'm not really for sure because I know it's based, my salary ordinance
But
that I
that's-
look at has got the 40 hours on it, but then there's.
But then there's the
overtime.
additional stuff.
And I
But
don't
they're
see that
having
on the
it-
salary
But
ordinance.
right now, that position is the person has to go out and work 2
The
shifts.
problem with doing the structure that it is right now is, if you look at the deputy director's job position, it's pretty much what I just told you, while managing a 24-48 rotation. That's not beneficial to admin, because if you go out on a run, now I'm waiting 2 hours for you to get back. Or if I have you come in on your off day, now you're making overtime at 8 hours, plus you're working the 72 hours or the 48 hours you were that week.
And
I
that's
can't reasonably expect you to come in after working 72 hours and say, I also need you here Tuesday and Thursday.
But
That's not a reasonable
But that's how
expectation,
people.
but that's
are
how it
making
is
their-
right now.
That's how they were making their money before.
Yeah, and it is, but that's just a request that I've got. Like I said, it's something that I feel is important. Do with that information what you will.
And I'm okay with it, I just wanna make sure we get this
Well, what the steps-
overtime thing.
Well, the steps would be that Nick would give me his revisions for the job description.
Which I have, I didn't bring.
And then we would send it to Wagner, Irwin, and Shealy. They would read the duties, they would classify it whether it was an exempt or non-exempt position. Then it would come to you all to approve the job description, and then it would move on to council for them to either say yay or nay. And if they say yay, then they'll set the salary. And then, a lot of times with Wagner, Irwin, and Shealy, I can have them recommend a range. And hopefully it'll be, again, it would be, and they look at different criteria, and they look at other counties and regional things.
So can we have this ready next meeting? I'm just asking.
Not the
next-
27th, no.
Yeah, not,
No, but again,
2 weeks.
we don't have, well, we could do it, we could probably, if you've already got your.
My
ready,
job
I can-
description's ready to go.
Okay, then I could send it up to them, and then probably by, I would think the first meeting in January, we could have the job description for them. And then if they move it on, then it could go to the council meeting later that month.
Okay.
And I think they meet maybe the 18th or something.
Looks like you got a month to
They
go.
probably work hard, you,
They meet on the 11th, don't they?
Second Tuesday of
Have to,
January,
yes.
whatever.
That's
that would be.
11th. So we would meet on the 5th, and then they would meet on the 11th, and we could have it done, so.
And then we would have budget back, and then you would have a better idea about.
I'm for it, because I think that,
I think this is something from the experience of working here prior and working here now and seeing it. I think it's something that's needed done way before now.
But council will also have to probably add a person to your roster, correct?
One person.
One full-time person, so see, there's 2 things to consider. The position and the salary they'll be setting, and then also they'll approve an extra position at, I'm assuming paramedic? No, you're gonna.
I mean,
do
it can
basic?
be.
It can be.
I would like to hit for that, because right now with the way stuff is, if I can hire a paramedic, I'm gonna hire them. But if I don't have any applicants and I've got advanced or EMTs, then I'll do
'Cause
that, but.
On the 27th or 8th meeting, whenever we meet, council will be approving the salary ordinance for 22, and then that would be a 2022 amendment to the salary ordinance.
I mean, I don't, this is not a life and death situation, so if it doesn't work out, it's no big deal, we just go back, so.
Right.
Tammy?
I hate to sound like all this red tape, but that's just the process
It's
that
just,
we
you
have to
gotta
work
do it,
through.
yeah.
But if we agreed to this and he decided it wasn't working out, we
It would
could
just
always go
exist
back.
like it is.
Yeah.
That council, because if council
So-
doesn't appropriate or approve, or if, I mean, and if you get your budget back, then you can bear the numbers out with them and show them,
you got
you know.
favorable,
So I'm behind you.
you got some favorable comments from them, didn't you, about it? I heard you did.
They went both ways. I think that they respect the reason, but they know how much money's went through that place, and that's kind of their hesitation, rightfully so. But I think, like I said, and I've always said, everybody's got a different philosophy on how things need to be managed. This is mine, and in my opinion, it's proven to work, so I hope that helps.
We'll try to get all this through the paces and something done and considered in January. How's that? That's just gonna be mine, your goal, how's that?
I think we're gonna be all right.
Okay.
8 then.
All right, the other, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Um,
All right, then.
You go ahead.
you go ahead.
How about this stuff? All right, so we had some issues when trucks, when I first got here. There was still a wrecked truck from happened in August or September. I sent that to John Jones last week because they were the only certified heavy-duty person that would warranty it. brake sensor, wheel speed sensor, all that stuff was done. We did get it fixed under warranty, so that was no cost to us. Got the measurements, went to Kilburn's to get the body repair done. The only thing we're waiting on right now is there was that passenger side diamond plate, step side. Got the measurements to Crossroads. Crossroad built it. I talked to Justin today. They're sending it out tomorrow. I should have it Monday, so that truck will be back out of service next week for about 2 days to go to Kilburn's, get all that stuff installed, and that truck will be back to being how it's supposed to be. But all the wheel speed sensor, brake sensor, and all that stuff were done at warranty work, so there was no cost to us on that. Techno mounts were installed, that way the monitors can quit rolling across the back of the trucks, so those are in all the trucks and they're secured in there. We did that in-house, so there was a little outside assigned other duties that were done by some of the staff members over last week to get those done. As you can see, I think it's the third and fourth pieces of paper in that handy packet I gave you. Mr. Watson and I have been talking.
Graphics.
It's the graphic stuff. We do have that truck out there. I would like to go to a more simplistic design of an ambulance with its representation and our representation of our name. And if that is something you approve of, here's the 2 color swatches of the blue, because you can't really make it look
Are the
pretty on a
rest of the
computer.
blue, are the rest of them blue?
What do you mean, the back? No.
Are they red?
They're red. So that's why I have to, I don't have to, I would like to match the back of the truck that's already there, because that's what, $1,500 give or take of chevroning on the back that's already there. So that graphic's already there and on the truck, that's already been paid for.
Blue's on there?
That's already on there, that's there and
Okay, yeah,
done.
we're not gonna do that.
So
I like
I don't feel like spinning that off, so
I
to
like
match that, this is the blue, this is the gray on the bottom, the yellow matches the back of that, and then everything else is the same. This is the yellow, this one here, it matches the yellow on the back.
I'm talking about doing all the vehicles and just.
No.
I would like to eventually get some of them there, but right now, this is just a blank truck that's got nothing sitting on it that I would like to.
All right.
So is it cleared through the state yet?
I can't clear it through the state until it's lettered.
Oh, so, okay, all right. All right.
Cost is,
Yeah, that's what I was looking for.
With that particular type of material, you're looking at 2,800 to 3,000. And the $200.
Is that a 10-year?
some of it is 10 years, actually, but they only make it in a 10
Not
year.
just.
Part of it actually is because that's all that's.
I get that, I'm just joking with you.
But if that is something Raymond came and stopped by Friday, I kind of asked him about it. They said that they had a design, but it got put on hold. I asked him if he would like me to do it. He said, do what I need to do.
Well, we need to get a brand new ambulance that's sitting out there in service.
Yes, and that's what I would like to do. So, obviously Brandon is local. I would like to, I've tried to stay local over there. I'm trying to stay local here with what we can. Seeing his work, obviously it speaks for itself. So if this is something that you feel like we can do.
Can we do this on an emergency basis?
There should, do you have money
Yeah,
like in
money.
line right now, or would this be a January expense?
This will be a January expense.
Then,
Yeah, but
then
I
you
mean,
should
you can
have.
do the work now and bill in 30 days.
Can you bill now and do the work until? Yeah, it seems like to be okay.
So we-
How much was it
we're gonna
again?
have some money
28
in
to
22.
3,000.
What do you mean exactly?
Up to
by
3,000.
now, like this
No, I
week?
mean, no.
By tonight.
By daylight.
Not tomorrow.
You're not working on Christmas, do you?
So I think what I'm trying to ask is it won't be any more than $3,000, is that correct? Okay.
Well, my whole thing is we got an ambulance sitting out there that we can't use until it's strikes.
I'm just seeing what the price is.
Yeah, I get,
Yeah.
I don't know what they were before.
Can we,
They were
and I mean,
3,000, 3,500 more.
$7,000.
I'm gonna entertain a motion to accept the $3,000, not to exceed $3,000 for this new ambulance to be lettered. And are you guys fine with this?
Yeah.
Uh,
I'll make that motion.
John makes a motion to accept the graphic design that we were witnessing and not to exceed the $3,000 from Brandon Watson. And I'm gonna say this is an emergency situation, in my opinion, but emergency request.
John, you already seconded that, right?
No, he made the motion.
Oh, okay, I'll second that.
I'll make that unanimous.
One thing I would like to say, and Brandon, nothing against, you do excellent work. But in the future, on something like graphics or anytime we do anything, I personally would like to have somebody reach out to all the vendors in Scott County, just to give everybody an equal shot.
Respectable. My apologies on that.
That's okay.
Who else does in Scott County?
I think there's one, isn't there? One more.
Well, I don't know, I know Babs does a lot of graphic, or a lot of signs and vinyl work, and now whether or not they go to this extreme, or I don't know. But I just, you know, like if it's something, you know, S&L Electric, John Miller, I want everybody included because
That's my fault.
I'm good with that.
No.
Brand had something to say about that.
I got a response to that. I agree with that as well. When it comes to certain types of designs, there's, to my knowledge, only 2 of us in the county that can actually print. And the other company actually doesn't. I mean, his printer is really small. They can't do anything to that magnitude. I don't think Babs Signs has a printer, which means they use cut vinyls. And you can't do a reflective Star Alive with certain details without a digital printer. So in certain situations, you would probably have to reach outside of the county to someone with a large format printer to do, because you can't just use a cut vinyl only if you're expecting the patch, for instance, that goes on the doors, or anything with a fading effect has to be printed. So it has to be a company with a printer.
Gotcha.
Can't be just a vinyl cover.
Right, and I understand that. I mean, and, you know, like, for example, you know, I would expect in case and then could not do it, they'd say, hey, I can't do that.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, I would expect.
I just want every vendor in Scott County to have an equal chance to do business with Scott County.
I totally agree with that.
Like I said, that's my bad.
No,
You're good.
I did go to the council yesterday. Good.
Yeah.
They just run them together. I had to do a line item transfer. They did approve it. I had to go from my director line item to medical supplies. It was approved, I believe 6-0. Yes. Yeah. Just letting you guys know, I did place 3 orders. One in the amount of $5,700, one in the amount of, I think, right at $3,000, and another one at $2,200. This was for needles, medications, normal staff. It was all medical supplies. It's everything that goes on our truck as equipment or supplies. So that did happen. Line item was there. It was approved, but that order was placed. I wanted to do that. That way I didn't make a huge dent in my 2022 budget to start off with. So the money was in the line item, it was transferred, and it was done. So
good.
that's there. Other than that, I ain't got nothing else.
well, let me bring up about the cars.
Oh yeah, that was on there, but that's not really. If I do keep that truck, I do have a recommendation. If you have something else,
We're
that'd be
not.
quiet. Okay.
Well, actually, we've talked about it at the last meeting about the transferring the trucks to the highway department. And I will say John Jones did reach out to me, and I'm gonna get back with him and see if he would, you know, work the deal with the trade-ins that he was gonna work the trade-ins for trucks before, whether he'll take the same trade-ins for the Durangos, and then it'll be just a swap between departments, I guess.
And I have talked to Kevin about some of the lighting. The light bar will not fit because it's gonna look like a top hat on top. But a lot of the recessed lights, antennas and stuff can be transferred to different vehicles, but there will be some.
So the light bar would be
the light bar, and some of the side lights will have to be there, but he did say that he would take the light bars in on trade, give us credit, and then where he does a net 45, if he can sell them within that, he'll give us the credit on the invoice and just take it off as a trade-in.
Okay.
Who said this?
Light it up.
Light it up. Well, let me get with John and see what kind of deal we can work with the Durangos. So, but you guys don't need to be driving those trucks, and the highway department needs them, so.
I just was gonna take that camper shell off if I was gonna keep it, because there's a lot of dead space and a lot of extra space.
How you gonna go camping?
It does have slide out beds, man.
John?
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Appreciate what you've done out there so far, and I guess I'm gonna ask, are we, fully staffed?
We will be fully staffed come the 24th, just from people's 2 weeks and
So
whatnot.
we,
Everybody's hired, we're just waiting on them to.
so we still running 2 trucks?
This week we've got 2 trucks 3 days and 3 trucks 4 days.
Okay,
Just-
so we're getting there.
Yep, starting after the 22nd, obviously people have vacation time due to the holiday, but as far as full-time staffing, after the 22nd, we're full. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, we've hired 7 or 8 part-time people. So our part-time people's gone from about 2 to 10.
Okay, all right, sounds like we're going the right way.
Hope so.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry I had you sit so long. All right, let's go to the payroll ratification. Everybody had an opportunity to look at payroll for December 3rd, 2021.
Yeah.
I hear a motion to accept the,
Motion accept.
John makes a motion to accept the payroll. Randy?
Second.
Randy seconds that. I'll make it unanimous. Consideration of the minutes for November the 17th. And I'm gonna throw in the regular and November the 22nd special meeting. Everybody had an opportunity to look at the meeting minutes.
I'm good.
John makes a motion.
I second.
Randy seconds that, and I'll make that unanimous as well. Special claims docket for urgent pay.
It's a biggie.
That's a biggie, let me find it here.
Yeah, right here. There's several, looks like this.
Have we got that on here?
Yeah, it's in your packet.
Is this the paving stuff?
It's included in there. Bitumen is in there. We've got some claims. Albertson excavating has to do with highway. Intermingled and all this stuff. Excuse me, I've had an ear infection, so pardon me. But we have some claims intermingled because they're all alphabetical here. A couple of last minute transfers that they've had to do for the building inspector. We're paying some year-end things in this as well. There are some TIF claims in here. John sits on that TIF board, and we had a lot of monies that were appropriated from a little bit left over from 2020 and 2021 for the volunteer fire department.
I don't think I got that.
Yeah, you should have it. I think that. Here, I'll give you that one. So we've got several things to kind of start towards the year-end cleanup, and this will help you maybe not have so many on that last page. But we were able to disperse almost everything on behalf of Findlay Fire Department, which was really good. They've got almost $20,000 worth of claims in here, all between helping them with some of their normal operating expenses as well as special projects and purchases.
Yeah.
So, and we've also got one for the Vienna Fire Department in here that was a TIF outlay to help finish the paving project that they had. So that's in there, okay? So we're trying to do some year-end push to get a lot of the monies that have been appropriated out the door, these special projects.
Okay.
So the total amount that you guys would consider for this match is $290,700.61. Oh, and there's one to our attorney, Zach Stewart, in there too, so.
Let's scratch that one.
Yeah, consider, you might wanna break that one down.
I don't know, we might need him pretty bad.
Any discussion, or do you?
No, that's all out of TIF.
Yeah.
A lot of this is out of TIF and the highway. Most of this is TIF and highway.
Yeah.
I hear entertain a motion.
I'll make it.
John makes a motion to accept the additional claims. This will clear out for a lot of stuff till the end of the year. Randy seconds that, and I'll make that unanimous. So do we all have to sign this?
Just, you will be fine. Actually, I lied. You need to sign it too, and Randy. I saw 3 lines on there. Yeah, you're right.
Let me find
Just any line.
Slow down here a second, so
Pass that back
next
to
thing on
Randy.
the agenda.
Very good.
Signature on that one. The last thing here, or not the last thing, but the next thing here is a transfer station manager position. I know we had interviews, last week, wasn't it? Interviewed 2 of the 3, the third one's on vacation. I guess I'll entertain a motion, for someone, anybody's consideration for the job.
You want to do it or you want me to, Randy?
Go ahead.
I'll nominate, Court McLaughlin.
I'll second that.
John nominates Court McLaughlin to fill the transfer station manager position. Randy seconds that, and I'm gonna make that unanimous, so.
I would like to throw something in though.
Go ahead.
We did another interview that I was extremely impressed with.
Yep.
And I'm hoping somewhere down the road, maybe we can work something out there. Not only talent was there, the need was there, so.
Well,
I think we all kind of agreed on that.
I think I agree wholeheartedly with that. We had 2 gentlemen that, either one of them could have and done the job, and actually both of them could have
Yeah.
and worked at the highway department, and I hope in the near future, if we have any openings there, that maybe we can,
Well, I think
they would apply, and maybe we can move some people around and people go wherever they feel more comfortable with.
I think the determining factor was, we all agreed, I think, was, Court was, has done the job before.
Been there
and
before,
had
yeah.
experience.
Yeah.
Hands-on experience.
Yeah. But like I said, I think both of them would be excellent employees in the future at, with the highway department if there's openings, and Kevin found a position for them, so.
I hope so.
So with that, I guess we'll notify, Mr. Court, Laughlin that, he's the new manager. I guess the question would be, I think he's gonna have to give a 2 weeks notice to the school. And, so whether he wants to start at the beginning of the year or after his 2 weeks or whenever that would fall. Second thing on here is the transfer station hours, and I think we have beat that around to where, I think after the first of the year, we need to change it to the, to having the Monday off, closed on Monday and open Tuesday through, Friday, with full days and a half a day.
I want to do a lot of advertising before we actually start.
That's why I said the first of the year, so.
Yeah.
And I think, that works out better for the public and actually works out better for our employee, because, technically, he only got 1 full day off, or, and that's on a Sunday, so, now, they would have half a day on Saturday, full day on Sunday, and a full day on Monday, and it's kinda like the license branch, how it's gonna be set up.
Extended hour on Tuesday,
Yeah.
too, so that would make the people who have a hard time getting from work back to the transfer station and when they
Yeah.
get home. It'll help, I think it probably would improve things all around.
So anyway, in the future,
Have a
or in the
rollout.
near future, we're going to change the hours out there. So with that, we'll change the signage and change the website and everything else, so.
Which we all agreed on, but it's Tammy's idea, so if you have any complaints, please contact her all.
Yeah. We'll give out the telephone number.
Yeah.
We'll give that up.
Yeah. But anyway, the next thing is the scheduled year-end meeting with the joint meeting with the council, and I think we talked about, that already a little bit. I think,
What was that date?
They really can come together, since they're a little bit larger board, they can come together the afternoon of the 27th. It seems to be that's the best time for them and their schedule. Are you good
The
with that?
27th and 28th is what they said,
The
wasn't it?
27th, we
Yeah.
were looking, when we talked, the 27th or 28th.
I think Raymond couldn't be here in the
But
morning.
he would have to move more things on Tuesday, and Monday afternoon, he's open, and several other people would prefer Monday
so
afternoon.
what we talk time,
That's up to you guys, you just tell me, do you want a 3 o'clock, a 2 o'clock, a 4 o'clock? I mean, it's up to
I
you
can do it
guys.
right after lunch, I don't care.
well, you think, Randy, you're the only one that's got a job?
Poor guy.
I'm good with whatever time you guys.
Let's do,
I'm flexible.
let's do 2 or something.
2.
I can't do it. Two's fine.
So that's December the 27th at 2 p.m., right?
I'm gonna have to go get me a job.
And then I'll take a look at
Don't do it.
who's where and what time they need for what items they need to attend to. Whether we have one just big joint meeting and then they just pop into their little things that nobody talks too long. Or if we have, he looked at me.
We got the next thing on here is a Family Leave Act, but I'm gonna, as we're looking at that, I'm gonna ask the attorney if he's got any comments, so.
I don't have anything.
Oh my gosh, I just giving you open floor, you can say whatever you want. I will say something why, since the attorney's not gonna say anything, and this is gonna be about the attorney.
He'll have a comment after you're done.
Well, he's already been able to say or not say his piece, so, go ahead while I'm talking. I know Zach's not from Scott County, and I just want, as one commissioner, I want to thank him for serving what I consider a very good service to the Board of Commissioners, and I hope he stays with us for the near future and the longevity. I know he's probably stepped into some stuff that most attorneys probably would never had come into a new job with, but I think he's gave us good advice and some good insight, and I for one appreciate the job you've done, and hopefully we don't run you off, so.
I was gonna save that.
Oh, you're gonna resign now?
No. I was gonna.
Ask for a pay increase.
I was gonna save that for our final meeting with council, just because I've been working with them too. But I do want to thank the Board of Commissioners for hiring me and trusting
Them too.
me. Okay.
But
I appreciate you anyways. Thank everybody that comes to the meetings, and I hope that you'll have me back. So I do know that.
You're stuck.
I also want to say I appreciate what you're doing. I'm hoping you're back too, so.
That's it. That's all I have.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Rick.
All right, we have two leaves, and do we want to just put them together?
That'll work.
I'll make a motion to add both of them.
John makes a motion to accept both leaves.
Second.
Randy seconds that, and I'll make that unanimous, so. I think with that, unless somebody's got anything, I'll entertain a motion to close the meeting.
Motion adjourned.
John makes a motion,
Second.
Randy seconds that, and I'll make that unanimous, so.